We are seconds away from it being, oh, there it just flipped. It is 9 a.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Becky, would you call the roll, please?
I sure will. Jim Sheeline.
Here.
Mike Book. Tom Kitson.
Present.
Lara Mimi.
Here.
Tim Bivens.
Here.
Nancy Naylor.
Present.
All right, this is, everybody had a chance to zip through the minutes from Tuesday. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I entertain motion to approve the minutes, moved by Bivens, seconded by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. He's reading.
Hey,
Um,
Jim.
Yes.
The ones for social services are on there too.
Oh, they're on there too? Okay, all right, so we'll catch them. Well, let's just, you guys amend the motion to cover both of those. Approved. Okay, so the motion passes. Thank you, Beck. All right, so we have department, we continue our exciting journey of county budget. And we have this morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. EMA, animal control and maintenance. Kevin, are you ready? All right, I will let you, do you want to come on down?
Sure, I can do that.
This is like the Price is Right. Come on down. Okay, and we've got your stuff up on the board, Kevin, and okay. All right, which one are we starting? I dropped down. Read, what am I looking at? I've got 5 items here under EMA. All right. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Got it.
So. Okay.
Questions? I wasn't aware when I set up the budget that we were going to have this in-person thing again. So I wrote narratives on everything. So I think you should have answers to everything that.
Oh, that's what the other?
I don't know. I don't have access to Onboard.
Okay, got it.
Thank you, sir.
Nope, I see your narratives now, Kevin. Sorry, I had not had a chance to read them.
That's fine. I just thought, didn't know that we were going to have in-person sessions at the time I developed the budget.
Sure.
Probably the biggest comment, and I pulled you in on it, Jeremy in on it. There's talk at the federal level of reducing FEMA's distribution to the states. So I think I dropped it to everybody on this committee.
Yep.
Also, at the state level, they look like they're going to take the formula away, which used to be population and all kinds of other things, and they'd never tell us the formula. Now they're going to do a flat dollar amount to counties. We're not in favor of that as EMAs. So we've sent letters again to Springfield, to Washington for whatever they do, how much overweight they handle, but opposing that. So there's 2 cuts that I could see for my funding side. So if it cuts at the federal level, it's going to cut at the state, it's going to cut at the local. It's going to cut at the state, it's going to cut more at the local.
But from the email that you sent us, you don't have any further.
Have not had a response from anyone. We've received your, submittal, but that's the only thing I've got.
All right, I'm just zipping through these.
Hey, Kevin, is the flat rate that they're thinking of, is that for every county? Like it would be, call it 10,000. That's
well, let's just use the 25. Like they're
okay.
That's before the cut from FEMA, so that's probably going to drop. Yeah. So, do you think that Chicago,
I was going to say,
or Cook County is going to go from tens of thousands or
millions,
over millions of dollars to 25,000?
Well, that's what I'm asking. So it's flat no matter what everybody's going to be on the same dollar value.
And the director has the authority to give someone more money.
The FEMA director or the state director?
the IEMA director.
Yeah, the state director.
We think
Okay.
that, and I'm gonna,
Yeah.
gonna say in the meeting.
So if he gives somebody else more money, does that mean he takes it away from somebody else?
Sure, absolutely. Well, no, they'll be taken away from the whole pot, because if you've got that much, Cook, Lake, McHenry, all those counties, you're gonna have a ton of money left over. What are you doing with that?
Yeah,
That's,
okay,
as an association, that's our
all right.
problem.
Basically, you're gonna go from a formula which would be a fair way of doing it to a political method of doing it.
Thank you.
So that's the reality of it.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered your question, Paul.
Yeah.
You know, there's about 140 some entities that get funding from IEMA. Like, take example, Rockford, City of Rockford gets funding because they're accredited, but so does the county, Winnebago.
So Kevin, what are you thinking as far as, okay, so, because we don't want to have the same issues we had last year where we had numbers in there that, you know, wasn't really reflective of what reality is. So we've got $25,000 plugged in for
That was-
reimbursement.
That was before I knew about this House bill that was coming out.
Sure.
Less than that, well, and I hate to go to that side and say put zero in it, and if we get anything, it's better off instead of overinflation. I don't know. I'm not a.
So they haven't
Numbers-
given you any guidance because you should be getting, I think, shouldn't you be getting if they continue at all? Shouldn't you be getting a payment here in October?
I just
I
took
think,
a
isn't it
payment to
October?
Paul just here the other
Oh,
day.
you just got one?
Just got one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't- I'm
that's
sorry,
still
I
for
didn't
this
see-
2 weeks.
fiscal
No,
year.
that's fine.
I didn't
understand.
see it. so-
2 weeks ago or something. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
again, remember, we're on a different calendar year than the whole
Oh,
world.
that's right, because they're under the state
They're under the-
fiscal year.
they're-
So
they're under
they're
the
in,
the federal fiscal year.
so that would be in,
And then it goes into the state fiscal year. So it's
Right.
really,
but we're within that. So if they're going to continue those payments, at least for the time
This would be-
being.
third quarter, I think we got. So, second quarter. I have to look. I didn't.
Yeah,
wasn't prepared for
I
that.
don't recall it, but that doesn't mean we didn't get it.
Right.
I just don't recall.
We
it.
apply, we use Amplifund, the program that the state furnishes to do all this. And it's a challenge. So let me go back and see where we're at, what quarter. Yeah. But I don't know when, between FEMA changing it and the state changing it, there's 2 changes there. So.
The reality is we're $1 million, over $1 million already off on the budget, okay? So everything becomes
Yep.
critical to review, you know?
Well, yeah, it's a double whammy for your budget, Kevin, because,
is.
without that outside funding, because as you well know, your EMA budget was predicated on some of that reimbursement coming back from the state
Yep.
and the feds. Is there, and I know, are you looking for any other possible funding sources
Absolutely. I'm out
besides?
there every day trying to find funding. I get, emails from companies saying, hey, this grant's available, that grant's available. I check to see if it applies. It may be for, other services that I can't use and they're no good. So, but yeah, I probably get something, when I said every day, it's exaggeration, at least a couple times a week on grants.
So because it's kind of more of a critical nature because of what's going on in your area. What about reaching out to Ray LaHood's office and talk to them directly? I mean, we get those emails
Yep.
where it details those,
Yep.
but
And
maybe we target a little bit.
And I've done that with
Have you?
all my federal and state representatives, asking them, either to support me in some of these oppositions that we want against these bills, or look for funding for me. So, I mean, I started that way back before. I've always done it. That's how we got that 75,000 was from Demmer's office asking for money.
Right. Okay, well, looking down, you've got okay. All the bennies are taken care of. Okay, you've got that, the equipment and furnishing, that was in the narrative, I saw in
Mhm.
regards, what, $17,000 finished build out of the EOC.
Yes, sir.
What else is in there, Kevin?
There's another request in here for Lee County Volunteer Corps. It's
Okay, and where is that? I saw that. Yeah, yep. Yeah, I saw it. Now, is this a new item? I don't remember this in your budget.
they've not been in the budget. We've been supporting them on donations since the inception. It's one of those things you can only go back to the same person so many times and they'll continue to fund you. You know, they like to fund different people. So we're getting to that point where our donations are running low.
Mhm.
And we're gaining people because our group, I'm probably the average age in the group, so. Yeah, we got some people that'll probably be leaving sometime just
Mhm.
because of their physical abilities of getting out and walking in cornfields and looking for little 4-year-olds missing, so.
How quickly do they have communications?
We do, we have an app that's paid for with another grant, and it's called I Am Responding, and we can, dispatch can actually put information in there, lost 4-year-old Harmon and staging location, and send it out, and
Okay.
it goes to everybody's cell phone.
Okay.
So we're fairly quick.
And it looks like you have continual training. for
We
these.
do monthly training. Yeah, we're doing evidence if you want to come up this time.
And you've got over 20 people, looks like.
We've got, right now we're running about 13, 14 people. We just
Okay.
took on 25 new applications that
Oh,
all
okay.
passed our background check. Most of those people are younger than I am, which is a good thing. So
Yeah.
we can sustain the group. So
Okay. Yeah, it's volunteerism is not without its problems. I mean, it's trying to,
what we found with-
manage people who are not paid.
Yes.
It can be problematic, but at the same time, very critical. We go back 19, 20 years. One of the last things we had was a couple kids missing down around
oh yes.
Green River down
Yeah.
there. And or the ordinance plant, I think it was.
Mhm.
And it was complete chaos
Mhm.
because obviously you don't have all the people on the sheriff's department. And if you have a trained group of volunteers that are organized, have been trained in searching, it makes a world of difference because it was just people showing up and running around, and it was just totally out of
And they
control.
can actually destroy things that
Yes.
could be good evidence
Yeah.
to finding that person. The other thing we do, and we've trained some of our less mobile people, is to manage those volunteers coming in. You know, they want to come in and help search, but you don't know how to search. You know what? We could use some donuts. Would you run and get us some
Yeah.
donuts? And they then feel worthwhile, or we embed some of the younger people in with our trained group so we can watch them. So we do have a plan for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's when you have limited resources, it's kind of, it's just one of those things that, you don't need them until you need them. And then when you need them,
They need to be ready.
yeah, it's you hope you don't, but
Yeah.
it happens.
And that's one of the rewards I'd like to do for them is in October every year, the state team has a training in Clinton, Illinois, and it's $150 a person. I'd like to pay for them to go as that reward for showing up at meetings and, the higher number of people the attendance is higher, reward those people. And then the younger people that have less attendance will see that and then step their game up. It's kind of that reward situation of the only thing I can do, I can't pay
Sure.
them. So.
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile programs, you know.
It really, again, I kind of went back in a little bit of history of it, but it was a combination of three offices that thought we needed this, and it's proved even through COVID, they were very, very useful in helping the health department and just even traffic control and helping make sure forms got filled out correctly and helping some people walk in and walk out of the facilities. So they were very helpful.
So where are you plugging that in? Are you putting that into your budget or?
I did not put that into the budget because I didn't know how you wanted to handle that. Is that a budget item? Is that another subset, or is that just something different? How do you want to do that? So.
You have to, I guess we'd have to do an amended onto the, we have to show it in a budget somewhere. So yeah, you'd put it.
Well, I would put, I guess the question is do we have it as a standalone item or do we put it in Kevin's budget?
No, I think I would put it in the EMA budget, because where you're gonna put it in a standalone.
Yeah.
I guess you could put it at a very top level, like at a board level or where the health, those the insurance liability and health, that level, you could put it there, because that's a 000 department level. I guess it's kind of how you guys want to show it, but either way, you got to put it somewhere.
Right.
So,
Well, I question in my mind was, we treated Kevin's budget more as, grants,
yeah,
and we're getting away from that substantially.
correct. I mean, depending on how FEMA is going to work and fund us, this becomes almost its own. It's not really grant, it's more department level that is funded through just our general
County-
fund.
County
Yeah,
General.
yeah, general fund.
I guess my feeling, Reed, you want to weigh in where your suggestion would be to place this if we decide to go ahead with this funding?
To me, I would just keep it in EMA. I mean, that's going to be the most logical place for it. We can create a new account so
You can
that we
a line
we
item for
know specifically what it's for.
It'd
But
be a separate line.
yeah, I mean, the expenses are, Kevin, you're going to be the one putting in those expenses, right? So, that's just going to be the easiest place to, all of that, the settings with my viewpoint and processing those expenses are already set up to go to the EMA account. So I wouldn't mess with that if you didn't have to.
I'm gonna warn you right now, Kevin. Possibility of that making it into the budget is gonna be pretty slim.
Okay.
We'll give it our best shot.
Okay.
But it's just gonna be, what Tom mentioned.
Yeah.
And I've been, and this doesn't affect you because it's, you don't have a proprietary fund. Your funding was mainly grants, but we're telling all the department heads that we're going to try to get as much of the restricted funds that's available that we can use out. And it goes back to what Tom said. And we're basically faced with about $1.5 million deficit as we come in with all the budget requests. Something's got to give.
Sure.
And the issue that we, and it goes back to a little bit of the narrative that I had last year. Last year, we were in the situation where we still had, we hadn't fully taken the solid waste money. There was additional, we were being conservative in our revenue projections. And last year we had and I'm talking 23, when I say last year, we had roughly $1.3 million in excess, and that was because of the conservative nature of our projections. This year we're coming in, Paul, it's right at 60,000. We're
going to be
plus or minus.
Plus or minus, we'll probably be within 100,000 of our revenue estimate, which, in the past was nowhere near that, but yeah, even that plus or minus, I think we're gonna be real short or real close, and then you have, that's 24. So now you have to project your 25s, and there's not a lot of growth there, because like Kevin's running into with FEMA, we're running into it with the state where they're cutting PPRT and all the other revenue side. So we're gonna be close. I mean, we're gonna be tight in that.
So some of the
that revenue
things,
source.
the point is, some of the things that we were able to do last year, we're not going to be able to do this year. And which just makes, the whole exercise harder, which we knew. We knew that this year was not going to be an easy year to begin with. But I just,
But I need
as
to
we
show you my needs. You know,
Absolutely.
If I don't show them to you, you don't know what my needs are.
Kevin, absolutely, and we appreciate, you appreciate the narrative. Sorry, I didn't get it read before I got here. The meeting normally, you know me, normally would have that done, but anyway, appreciate it. But I wanted you to understand kind of the arena we're working in this year. Tom?
Kevin, I'm looking at these and
Mhm.
you always do stuff that's needed. But to Jim's point, we were saying earlier, if we gave you a flat budget, knowing that we're probably gonna have the salary part of it won't be covered by FEMA,
Mhm.
would that affect you operating? I mean, I know these
Yeah.
things are like to haves, want to haves, need to haves, but
Yeah, my repairs and maintenance expenses are going up.
Okay.
So I think, again, just a projection, I'm gonna be over in repairs.
okay.
I've got equipment that's, getting like me, aged. Yeah, and it just
Okay.
needs, tender love care. So tires on the light tower the other day, pulled the light tower, had a flat tire. Well, when I had the mechanic come look at it, he goes, you need both tires. You just don't need.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so $300, and we're on the road.
Okay.
Okay, the mini CRD, what is that? Oh, sorry.
That's the device we discussed a couple times, and you told me to bring it back at budget time.
Mhm.
So in the event we have, like Iowa, Greenfield, where they had the town wiped completely out with no cellular, no communication, this little device can get
that's right.
set up. It attaches to a satellite. It brings down FirstNet cellular. So the sheriffs would be able to make calls. It brings down Wi-Fi. So we'd be able to use the internet services. So there's two. Okay, there's this one and there's a larger one. The only difference is one has more power. The second one is more money. So it's 80,000 instead of 35,000. So, but it's the
Yeah, I couldn't remember either.
yeah. So that's the high flying gist of it.
Sure.
Yeah, it
Now
provides
I
that critical
remember.
communication when it's all gone, that you still can communicate.
Basically a nexus. You're creating a nexus or a node.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you will. Yeah.
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 Okay. All right.
We still have that program we approved after Woodhaven where you badged people to,
Mhm. Yeah, the
Okay.
sheriff's department uses the badge machine.
okay.
I'm gonna say daily sheriff, but that's probably a little overkill, but you probably make badges
Well,
monthly.
I'm talking about the one where you locate people, if they went in and came out.
Well, you can't locate them, but you know
Well,
they're there.
Okay,
Yes, tracking.
okay.
Yes.
So we do use it. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I don't
I
have a
mean,
problem
that-
with fire department kind of stuff. But I understand how
Yeah.
important it is, but I just wondered if it's something that we,
I mean, there.
oh, okay, contractors. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin?
You're still on my list. You're still on my list.
All right, hearing none. Thank you,
Okay,
Kevin, for
yeah.
coming in.
Not a problem.
Um,
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And we'll have your requests and we'll do the best we can.
I appreciate that. That's all I can ask of you. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, B, animal control. Terry, come on down. Good morning.
Morning.
So we have your budget.
Let's not start because I could probably cry right.
And by the way, the cats are doing fine.
Good.
Yeah.
They haven't escaped or did anything bad.
Nothing.
Good.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
the
hopefully
Sheline
a dog.
household, we're down and so, yeah. So I jotted down, went across the street and Terry fixed me up. So that was great. Anyway, Terry, would you like to talk about your budget and tell us any big changes? And I think you have a capital request. Whoop. Oh, yeah.
I haven't said anything yet. It's on. It's green. Okay.
Yeah, green is good.
Green is good.
Yeah, green is
Yes.
good. So if you just like to go through your budget and just
I-
just the highlight of any changes that you're seeing and you know, I'm, you know, we're aware of the truck that you'd like to get in capital and
Mhm.
just go through that.
Okay, haven't done this for a while, so bear with me. So I have been short, 2 people and well, 1, but I want to, hire 2 people for the kennel. That was just an additional $1,900. That way I can rotate the weekends instead of having 1 person every weekend, which would wear people out like it is us. Brandy and I are now working 6 days a week because of that. So we're trying. I do have an ACO that I terminated. So I'm looking to replace that person. I think I have someone. She's actually from Texas and she should be up here next week. But I have a tentative start date of the 26th if she accepts everything. So hopefully that'll work out, but really nothing in that part of it changed, I guess. I'm just letting you know that I'm down people. Let's see, I think the county vet, I changed that to 400 if that's feasible. She was getting 300 a month. And that's, gosh, when we were at another place, it was $300 back then, and that was years ago. So I kind of feel like they're worth a little bit more than that. Not sure. Everything else, I think. I did add in the transfer. I don't know if Paul knows about that. A few years ago, we had transferred out of pet population to help with the officer's salary. Through pet population, you can actually do an administrative fee that is feasible. And that can come out of pet population into an officer's salary. So I thought maybe it would help budget wise to start that again.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And that transfer is in there.
that transfer is
Yep.
in there, yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's that transfer out of $8,000.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a transfer out down there under pet population and transfer into 002 account.
You know, the nice thing about your area, Terry, is that you're pretty well self-funded.
Yes.
In fact, totally self-funded.
Yeah, entirely self-funded.
Yeah.
Maybe the only department.
So congratulations.
I have thought about raising tag fees and possibly relinquish fees.
Mhm.
I haven't done tag fees for, I think it was oh my gosh, couldn't have been 2013. I think it's been like 4 years or so. And the reason for the relinquish fees is because we are getting people that all of a sudden can't take care of their dogs. They're homeless. So the homeless, we sometimes, what we kind of know, sometimes we know that they're going to come back and get their animals. If we're unsure, we have them sign a relinquish form. They have till a certain date to come and get their dogs, even the homeless ones, because, you know, it's going to take them a while to get back on their feet. And, you know, they're not going to be able to pay.
Right.
So I think the relinquish fees, you know, I feel like they should go up a little bit. Kind of have people think about it and take some responsibility before they just, I can't do this.
Sure. Sure. Now on, let's see, did we plug in the 155 as far as for on the
I-
rabies and tags, or
I
you,
did.
that you plugged that in?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you thinking about putting that, you can do that for this next fiscal year of increasing those fees is,
I can do that pretty much any time. Like I could start,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have to wait till the next fiscal year to do anything like that. I can just
well, I
go
was
to
just wondering,
committee.
does that have to be a county resolution or?
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about, you know, yeah, you have to have some type of resolution to.
Right.
To change your fees.
Right, yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I start off with going to my committee and we kind of take it from there.
Sure. Well, if you're gonna do that, then that number actually be readjusted upwards.
Mhm.
In fact, well, both your income numbers. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, if that's kind of what you're thinking, get that in so that,
Okay.
and kind of let Paul and Reed know what you're thinking so that we can redo those numbers.
for sure.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. You guys see anything, any questions for Terry? The one thing that, well, go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I have a question on the salary. Are you asking for a salary of 80,000 for full-time? Or is that
For two full-time
Two.
people.
full-time?
Two full-time people.
So, budget year over year, you're going to see a little bit of a discrepancy because of the input from last year's budget was not necessarily correct. And then there was, from the part-time. So we're putting all the part-time folks like the kennel staff into salary part-time now instead of contractual services. And then the salary full-time is actually for two full-time ACOs.
There are side notes, and I don't know if.
They're not in
they're
this
not
one.
on
Yeah,
there.
I don't.
Okay.
We have
I had,
the raw, we
what?
just have the raw numbers. So.
I didn't have the wrong numbers.
No,
Yeah.
the raw numbers.
Wrong.
Yes,
Raw,
oh, yes.
Right, not wrong.
REW, got it.
Don't make Jim cry.
Yeah, that's right.
And then again,
Um,
just keep in mind that, as Terry said, some of those expenses are going to be able to come out of some of the restricted funds to offset some of the administrative costs as well. So we're planning to start doing that again this year.
So then let's talk about the truck. So you've got money in your restricted funds. So the discussion that I had with Jeremy and Reed and Paul was that you've got enough money in your restricted funds that we could pull that to pay for the truck.
Mhm.
And so I think that,
Yeah, so you're going to actually see that in the transfer outline in this budget draft, Terry. You won't see that, but if you look up at the screen, Reed had made an adjustment. So if you look in the adjustment line, which is the third to last, at the very bottom, the transfer out the 60,000. We're showing that in there tentatively as a transfer out of the restricted fund to pay for your truck, which is an applicable expense.
I guess the only reason to show it out as a transfer is opposed to just purchasing the truck and putting it to one of your account line items is for tracking purposes. If we have a capital budget, that's where we want to make capital purchases so we can go easily find them at the end of the year when we need to capitalize all of them instead of having to go through every account that everybody has
Yep.
for purchases over $20,000. This just makes it a little easier for us to identify those capital items and so we can get them
Makes sense.
capitalized on our financial statements.
And
Okay.
then we'll have to wait till next physical year to start looking, right?
I
If
would,
I understand everything right.
I would say you could probably get your truck lined up and just arrange for the payment,
So I could,
December 1.
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
You know, as soon as the beginning of the next fiscal year hits, you can make that payment
Yeah.
or, you know, you can submit the
Purchase.
invoice for the guys to cut the check.
Okay.
Does that replace a truck?
No, it's an additional.
Okay. So do we reflect that on fuel and stuff in your budget that be 2 trucks and
You know, that's a good question. Tom, I never thought about that.
We do have gasoline and oil up, about $1,200, from the previous year.
is that enough? I mean,
It might not be,
okay.
so we can make a small
Oh, yeah,
adjustment to
we did
that.
move that.
Any other questions for Terry? All right.
How many animals you got in the house? Dogs and cats, have you?
You really wanna
full?
know? Yeah.
Excluding board.
I have one kennel that's open right now.
Okay, I'll ask the question no animal lover wants to ask. Do we ever put animals down anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Because it seems like we donate a lot of them to shelters, don't we? Try and find homes.
So that's the problem. The shelters and rescues are full. So basically, if we call them at the right time, then they could take a couple or one or whatever. I don't know. People have not been reclaiming their animals. They have been giving them up because they can't afford them. There's all sorts of scenarios that's happening. And I kind of feel like that started back when COVID started. You know,
Right.
let's get a puppy because we're home all the time. Well, now, you know.
We're working,
we're
let's
not,
get rid of the
yeah.
dog.
Terry has an absolutely gorgeous Andalusian Shepherd that has
Mhm.
Mimini written all
Oh.
over it.
I hate asking those
She's
questions.
sort of a
because-
basket case, just so you know. I'm not trying to not get her out, but yeah, she's sort of a basket case.
No, she would love being out there in the country with you. Yeah.
She would guard.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I was, when I was in there of the kennels, I think were you full or close? You were,
I think I was full when you were.
I think
there.
I was, yeah.
I mean, I appreciate we're self-sufficient. I really do. And I hate to put animals down, but the bottom line is,
Yeah, so back to your
we're
question.
not we're a dog pound, we're not a shelter. And that's why I always ask, how, you know, for
Yeah,
we're moving them on or what, do we ever
well,
dispose any?
we do, like, so the ones that are not adoptable, obviously, you know, get euthanized. We do it often, more often than I like to, but sometimes it's to the point where, okay, this dog's been here. Basically, sometimes if they're there too long, they kind of go, I don't want to say crazy, but
Sure.
they just are not good. So yes, we do put some down. I know the last eviction we did, well, a couple evictions that the sheriff's department did, we had one that had, and I think I've said this before, but he had 30 cats in his apartment. And of course, some of
In
them.
an apartment?
In an apartment. And some of them were already bred, the females. So I didn't know it until after they started getting big and they had kittens. So I had 5 mamas that had kittens. Yeah. So the office was a maternity
I
ward.
took 2. That was my share.
Yeah.
Step up to the plate, Mr. Kitson.
Well, we try, anybody that comes over, we try to send something. Jeremy just won't. I don't know why. So yeah, the ones that are not, and some of those cats had to be put down because they were very feral. So we're just now, that was in April, we're just now getting the last of them kind of out. I do work with a vet too, that she'll take nice cats or kittens. I've got the kittens that Jim was looking at. I have 1 that age, and I have 4 that are about 10 weeks old, and they're going to be going. So it's just a matter of time, kind of, but it does get to us. I mean, it's a lot of work. But we do what we can. Mhm. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was not just the truck, but I have down on there at some point, the kennels will have to, it would be nice to have epoxy on it. The paint that was used when we first did the concrete,
Mhm.
so a couple of years ago now, I guess, is not staying on. And so now the concrete is porous and it just isn't. So I'd like to look into that at some point and get some costs. I do have a cost on maybe doing a kennel at a time. With Hog Slat in Rochelle, they carry epoxy kits.
Yeah, there's all kinds of products out there that seal
Yeah.
up the concrete.
Yeah.
Do those kind of things. But that's something maybe, yep,
Yeah, we've
it
all
just so
been-
happens maintenance is right behind you.
I
so-
know. So,
And he's
yeah, and I
listening.
haven't talked to Eric yet, because I kind of wanted to get a cost first and kind of know what I want to
Right.
maybe have on there, so.
Well,
Otherwise-
there is, again, you've got that balance in that pet population fund, so,
Yeah,
Just
and
to
I'll
be-
have to see if I can use that, because that's restricted funds.
mhm,
So I have to see if I could use that to upgrade the building.
sure.
So,
Both of Terry's funds are essentially restricted, right? None of this is general fund money
Right.
on here. So, and she's got, there's a reason I am not in the maintenance department, but I would say she definitely has enough to cover epoxy. So.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyway,
just good news all around. It's just a good day. Thank you.
well, you're
because
welcome. We don't get that comment
Isn't it nice
much
to know that you're
in
the
here.
only, you're the only profit center we talked
Well, because it's like everybody else has bigger budgets than mine, and we're just, tiny here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing, Terry, is you pretty much self-fund your own department, so we don't have to dig too deep.
Well, and the thing of it is, I think we all recognize, the county, in the history books, the county spent a lot of time talking about how do we handle animal control? And to my knowledge, I mean, I've never had a complaint in regards to what the county's doing in regards to animal control. And I think that speaks well of, you running that department,
Oh, you're gonna make me
and we appreciate what you do.
Well, I have to say though, Jeremy does get complaints. And that's not gonna be abnormal because
No.
we're kind of like the sheriff's department. We have to tell people what the laws are.
Right.
And they don't like it. And they don't like the things that we can do by law. They don't like it. And so they're
But
gonna
what I'm
call
referring
him.
to is I remember the days in South Dixon Township when we had dogs running around Eldina.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Eldina residents wanting to, the township to put in a dog pound. And my largest meeting I ever had as a township supervisor was about dogs in Eldina. And I have, since I've been on the county board, I have not heard one single thing about we've got feral cats or we've got,
The cats are always gonna be an
packs
issue.
of dogs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're taking care of the need.
I hope so.
Yeah.
When you say feral cats, I flash back. I tremble.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else? All right. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. The other Mr. England. Come on down, Eric. Good seeing you. Long time no see.
Howdy. Merrick. Hello.
Yeah, this is.
I will turn this car around right now if you two can't behave.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I'm just gonna hand it over to you and you go through the list of what you'd like to talk about, of what you got planned for the year and keeping these buildings from falling apart and keeping all the folks happy and cool and hot and
Yep, yep.
all that kind of stuff. So,
So I am, working on my 10th week now, so I'm
Yeah.
still getting a handle on the 6 buildings.
sure.
Possibly adding 2 more down the road. So I'm trying to keep that in mind too.
10 weeks. Honeymoon's
I'm
over.
on 10 weeks.
Honeymoon's over.
So anyways,
You gotta understand the peanut gallery over here,
Yeah.
he's a tough crowd.
right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go through capital budget. Does that make sense? Through my
Yeah.
normal budget?
Let's go through your first
My-
budget
my
there and then
preliminary.
we'll get to the things you got on capital.
All right.
We always like to leave the fun stuff to last.
All right. So the things that's really changed, it's kind of hard for me to explain to you on some of these things because the budget was kind of out of order when I showed up.
Mhm.
So we've been just trying to go through the numbers and recalculating things and making them work, if that makes sense. So I'd like to add 1 full-time employee. I think that would be the second down on the list. And because of that, we have 3 guys in the staff that are of retirement age. 1 guy's ready to go in January-ish. So I'd like to beef our team up, soak up the knowledge as best I can before these guys leave. It's my thought process.
Is that why your salary item, line item goes from 300 to 395?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So there may be a possibility of even 2 hires, depending on what the transition looks like. So that's, we're estimating for potentially one and like 1.5, maybe mid-year. Because there's a potential for 2 retirees in the next fiscal.
How many are there total?
7.
7? Okay.
Yep.
Is what you got right now,
Yes.
including yourself, or
I would be
you'd be 8?
8.
You'd be 8.
Right.
So there would be essentially what we're doing or looking to do is bring in 1 additional now to train under the current staff. And then build that transition and plan out. And then there is the strong possibility of actually having to hire another new maintenance staff member mid-year to continue that succession plan before we have a second retiree. So there's going to be a pretty big change in the department within the next 2 years.
So are we talking about still having 7 people and we're done, or are you adding?
Well, that's
So
talk
there would
still,
be 7 right now. We'd be adding 1, and it'd probably be in our best interest to continue to sustain at 8
yes.
because of we have plans from a county's perspective to build out the old LEC.
Right,
So we're adding another building. Maintenance is already struggling to keep up. I mean, they had been,
is all that included in this
yes,
395?
yes.
That's adding 1.
That's adding
Right.
1.
Well, that's adding 1.
And a half.
That's adding 1 full-time, and then, so essentially what you're seeing is 7 plus 1 in the 395.
Did I misunderstand you? The 2 are gonna retire though?
We don't know that for sure.
Oh, okay.
They're close.
They're
they're ready.
close. There's one that-
for sure.
yeah.
Okay. So this would adjust if the second one retires.
Yes.
This
would
would
adjust
keep
to-
1 up.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so I think, just so everybody's clear, we're looking at increasing where Eric's at 8, we're increasing to 9, possible 2 hires. So with the potential for 3 potential hires in this next fiscal year.
Potentially, depending on what retirements
Possibly,
look like.
depending on what
It could be a
folks
couple,
decide
it
to
could
do.
be a couple years.
No,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I understand what you're doing. I just understand the number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to hold the 9 if possible, just because we're adding in future, the old LEC and potentially the Lee County Highway too. So if we add both of those buildings, it's going to be a madhouse.
Be nice to be ahead for a change rather than chasing behind.
So it should be at least at 9.
Okay.
So,
And that's including you.
right. So yeah, as far as the sick pay, longevity, all that stuff goes hand in hand with the new hires. Software licensing, that is the work order program. Maintenance agreements went up because we are adding new courts with Hartwig preventative maintenance, and Helm Electric will do a few buildings as well.
Okay, so the difference, can you kind of go, we got the maintenance agreements. And then maintenance, you've got to increase about $40,000 there.
Maintenance stayed the same.
No, maintenance is just.
Oh,
Ma-
maintenance did say the same.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
sorry. I
looking-
did this
you-
the other day when we were going through this. I was looking at run rate rather than the actual budget. Sorry.
Supplies went up quite a bit, and that is because we don't have any tools to really build the team to what we want to do. So I'd like to be able to do in-house remodels versus hiring all this stuff out. We just don't, we have some basic hand tools, the Sawzall and a couple drills and
So when you say supplies, these are things, not stuff that you use up. These are tools that remain
in my mind.
pretty much intact.
Yeah, so I was thinking
longer
about
life,
trying
so
to
to
change the line item to tools and equipment versus
Mhm.
supplies, but however you guys want to do it, that's fine by me.
Mhm.
But yeah, maintenance would be nuts and bolts, and supplies would be more like tools and
Like-
things like that.
Okay.
Gasoline and oil went up 2,000. Like to keep the training where it is. We haven't dipped into it yet, but I'd like to take and look at Sauk Valley College and see what kind of HVAC programs there is to send the new guys out to, electrical, yada, yada, yada.
Right. Sure.
They do have it.
Yeah. So the problem is when, is it during the day or is it at night? We're just now looking into it. Telephone, I couldn't really tell you why that went up. And as far
Well,
as
we
you-
actually cut that. Because it was at 4,000 last year, so it must
Yep.
have,
Yeah.
Just looking at the wrong
Historic.
line.
yeah.
Your
And I'm assuming that those are all cell
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing, you know, when I walked in, that we were already over half used in our budget, so we're just adjusting on the fly, basically.
So then when you look at all the utilities, again, keep in mind that these are based off of all county department utilities and buildings now. The only one that's not included is highway at the moment. And our electric costs have gone up. So that's why you're seeing that adjustment. I do believe, is that right, Eric, when you did your estimation?
Yes.
With the new contract.
Jeremy, we didn't sign up with any of those electrical aggregates.
We
Yeah,
do,
we did.
yeah.
We
had-
did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still don't.
correct.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's with the rate change.
Mhm.
Is that an artifact? Paul, is that an artifact that we were still cleaning up? Other budgets were
Yeah,
expensing for electricity use. and-
we cleaned that
and now
up. We
we're
cleaned that
cleaning
up.
all that up and bringing it into
Yeah,
the budget.
Yeah, we did that a year ago. It
Well, I
should
thought we
be,
did.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did that a year ago. So, or even maybe two, where we've started now to see the maintenance team pick up the utility side of the county, basically. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it shocks me a little that we're 110,000 more than we had budgeted last year, but it probably doesn't surprise me in the sense that those utility costs are, as everybody's seen, is going through the roof.
And we were talking about that yesterday in claims. Remember when we signed that, we had a really, really low rate for those 3 years and then the rate
Yeah,
jumped.
Yeah.
That could have something to do with it.
absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, and if you look at FY '23, you were already at about $200,000.
Yeah.
So we under budgeted 24 for electric.
Yeah, I think we were hoping for some type of savings somewhere and it never materialized.
The only other thing that I'm not seeing in this, and I was just talking to Reed about, is I'm pretty sure we're missing a supply line with custodial supplies
Mhm.
that's being added in. So the supplies were cut out. So if you look at the supply line currently that's showing, you see 60,000, 59, 57, so you're looking at, and it's at 7, was budgeted 12 and then 17.6. So these supplies that you're seeing in the budget here are actually like equipment, tools, things like
That was
that.
my question.
Custodial supplies is another line that's not showing right here. And that is essentially all of the cleaning supplies, all of those things that gets used and continue to rebought here.
So is that what, that needs to be added?
It needs to be
or
added in here.
Okay.
added
That was
in?
my
It'd be
question.
10,
What
right around 10,000.
they together?
Around
It's a new-
10,000.
It's a
added.
new GL account, so it
Right.
doesn't exist as of right now. It's sitting in, actual expenses is sitting in supplies. We're gonna break it out next year.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. So it's,
It's not in the bottom line.
That is here. Well, is it here or do we have to add that to the bottom line?
I would add it to the bottom line.
It's not here.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just wanted.
That- yeah,
Okay,
that's
but
what-
the
It's
total.
in the run,
line.
it's in the run rates. It's just not in the FY '25 budget.
Additional.
Oh,
currently
okay, so
here.
those dollar values are not there.
That's
Is
what I'm
what-
saying.
Okay,
We have it in our draft budgets, but it's just not showing on this.
okay.
We'll have
That's-
to get that to translate and update for your guys' files.
Okay.
Okay, and then the adjustments, okay.
Those
That
are-
$75,000 of adjustments
That's all payroll. or
and that's all
benefit.
payroll
That's
related.
benefit related that,
And so when we get over to the 1.4 is what is the
Plus.
actual,
Correct.
what we're gonna be, and the supplies
Plus the
are in there,
supplies.
the extra 10,000, or we have to
We
add
have
in?
to add that.
Okay,
So actually it's 1422.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. Or 23.
2, 3.
Okay, help me out here. We're only adding 10,000, or 17,000 added for tools, correct?
Yes.
We did not count in the.
Yeah, it is, it's there, Tom.
It's there.
It is there.
All right.
So if you pull that draft one, so that 1.412, you're adding 10,000 onto that,
Custodial.
okay? All right. Well, before we move on, I think we beat that dead horse. Any questions for Eric or the guys on this part of his budget? And we'll move on to capital requests. Okay, all right. Sounds good. Of course, and by the way, your committee chairman called me as I'm driving in. Were you standing right there?
Set the tone for me.
I tell you, finance chairman has to put up with so much. All right. Capital budget numbers. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
All right, so LED lighting, we have basically the entire courts building, this building, new courts, we're most on fluorescents. So the goal is to get everything swapped out to LEDs, brought into the 21st century. I think this 95 is light this might get new courts. So that's kind of the game plan, is to just focus on that building, get it all done, move on to the next one.
Hey, Eric,
Yeah, can I?
have we had any discussion with ComEd?
Yeah.
I know that they have programs to swap out
That's what-
that stuff.
That was my
So
question.
Helm is
Yeah,
been
that should,
contacted. They're gonna take over all of that, give me a price,
perfect.
and then
We talked
we'll go
about
from
that
there.
last year.
Mhm.
Or we can do it ourselves individually. So there's two different ways. I just haven't had the time to really compare.
I own a couple small businesses and I did that. And I said this last year too. The only thing that I had to pay was the sales tax.
Yeah.
They cover everything. And I don't think we have to pay a sales tax as a county, do we?
No,
Did you install the
Oh,
lighting
no.
yourself?
No, they did it.
They did,
Yeah, they did everything
through ComEd.
through ComEd. yeah.
Gotcha.
It was a company out of
Yeah.
Minnesota. I thought they were scammers, so they showed up one day. Changing your
somebody
lights.
came
Go
to a
ahead.
board
Yeah.
meeting and talked about it one night.
Yeah, we talked.
We
about it.
talked, somebody came to the board meeting one night.
We do have, and Eric has information from our ComEd representative
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, he wasn't here, but I did send, and I wasn't.
You weren't here either.
But I did see the information and I did send it to Eric, and that's where I think the conversation is with ComEd and Helm right now. Is one, so you still have to have a contractor come in and do that work.
Mhm.
So that's where that's at.
So as far as what we want to plug in for this year's budget, you want to keep that 95?
That I don't know the numbers. A lot of these, I'm still waiting on numbers.
Pull that there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, miscellaneous concrete projects?
I believe that this is mainly for old courts, sidewalks. They're deteriorating pretty badly.
The new court,
New courts?
the old LEC,
Old courts.
old courts.
I
I think there's that cost, and then what we had originally put in there was also your request for the repairs at the old LEC, or is that not
And
in there?
that's gonna be roughly 24 grand, so
Right.
that can be taken out of this year's budget easily.
Okay.
But, you know, down the line, there's still the retaining wall at the old LEC. The entire parking lot that needs to be redone. So that, I don't know if that's just,
So you know what? That's in blacktop repair, Eric.
so,
We're good.
so there's definitely a little bit more investigating before, you know, I can say that, yeah. Yep.
Right.
10. Oh, well, yeah, sure. Yeah, give,
In 2 more
give me a
weeks,
couple
Tom.
days.
Yeah, 2 more weeks, you gotta have this down to a penny.
I guess one question, Eric. I don't, you probably haven't had a chance to look, but what's up on the screen there? Obviously, we have a remaining budget of 24. And there's still quite a bit in there in terms of budgeted cash that we can use this year.
On
Do you
Mr.
expect
Concrete
to
project
expend a lot of that down yet in FY 24?
For concrete?
More of a general question, but
Well, when we went through that read, we talked about a lot of these are transfer overs. So that the old LEC demo cost is the transfer because it's not going to hit
Right.
this year.
so
The
I just
HVAC,
wanna,
same scenario.
point that out that this isn't necessarily new budgeted money. It's money we budgeted last year that we're kind of carrying over.
Correct. There's a lot of
For
carryover.
projects.
Right.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
some of this money is for Jeremy. I know you weren't here last year, but this HVAC, this was from COVID, from ARPA, right?
So
mean-
yes, but all the ARPA funds are essentially expended at this point. So this is the budget that we have left over at the moment in capital to complete the Allied HVAC program project. I don't think we're going to expend all this. So
But I think we have at least $1 million.
it's like one
That's for
3 or
different buildings.
4
Yeah.
But
left.
you're asking for 200 more for 25.
No. So
No?
that is going to be a rollover, but there is HVAC costs that are, I think that's actually supposed to be
Yeah.
continuing replacement, and that might actually be in
That's for-
the old courts, not the new courts. It's labeled wrong. So that 200,000
Mhm.
is a rollover to here. Because that's currently we have the VAV project that needs to be done. And it might not be done this year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we got a little sidetracked. Tom's asking, we're kind of jumping around. Let's.
I have a question, but I want to wait till we get to that line. So
Right.
trying to decide what we're doing here.
Right. So we were, so we got 150,000 on discretionary fund.
That's what we did last year, right?
100.
We did
100
100
Okay.
last year. 190 on the blacktop, and that's
So that's for the new courts getting repaved, and the Hennepin parking lot also.
okay. And that's a new money. The elevator item, 310, that's the, that's the Sally board.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, law enforcement center. Okay. All right. That's what I was looking at too.
Yeah.
So essentially anything you see in the old LAC is going to be a carryover from this year's budget.
We're not done with that old LEC, are we? We're still working on it.
Haven't even started it. Haven't even really started it.
Still working on planning,
So
just layouts.
So we had the judges in yesterday or day before yesterday and pretty adamant about needing to get flooring done on the 4th floor over there. And
Mhm.
so we pointed out that we're putting in this year's budget 125.
Mhm.
Is that 125 going to cover what judges need to get done over across the street and whatever
Yes,
else you're thinking about
yes,
there?
on 4th floor for sure.
She had a quote of 100, didn't she, just for that floor? So
Yeah.
All right, so where were we?
What's that?
Where were we?
We're flooring. Now we're at HVAC. So it's a little, so that 1.8 that we got there, that is,
That's the Allied that we've set aside for Allied.
I understand, but that is out, so that's coming off the top line of capital.
What is left of the Allied project will come off the top line of capital, yes.
And that's the 1.8.
That's what
Okay.
we have in the budget for it. Does not, I don't think we're gonna expend all of that.
Yeah, I thought we were down to like 1.1. So I'm saying that 1.8 just kind of,
Right,
it's kind of an outlying number.
correct.
Right.
It's what's remaining of what we had budgeted for capital for that in 24. Looks like we're gonna spend, I'm gonna call it 1.2. And so there should be about 600,000. Of that 600,000, it looks like 200 of it is rolling over into next year.
Yes,
Is that a correct statement?
that is fair.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you. That's where I was going.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, because at first, when you first look at this and you go remaining 2.9 for the year, and then you're gonna spend 2.2 next year, you go, wait a minute, there's not $5 million in capital. Yeah,
I'm starting to feel like you.
I was gonna say, don't give a guy who's already got a pacemaker and another heart attack.
And add a pacemaker for the finance chairman.
Yeah.
All right. The HVAC control replacements, that's for the
The new, is that,
that's all across the street.
That's for shares, LEC.
Okay.
So right now, it's Train, the company Train, like HVAC Train, controlled. So it's all prepared, what's the word? Prepared, proprietary. Proprietary, oh my word, to them. So it's
and none of
it's
that
very,
is-
very expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and none of that is still under warranty or no?
I'm not sure on that, so.
I don't know what kind of warranty we got, but I mean, we built that
not that old.
6
Yeah.
years ago,
Right.
so, yeah, I was just wondering.
So we have no control on the BAS system, on the computers. We can't set any set points or do anything in that building. We're limited. So if there's any work done, it has to be by a trained representative. So we're trying to get that all switched over.
And if there's any work done by the train representative or, you know, serviceman person, obviously then we're paying that cost as well. So
Right.
again, trying to internalize the operation because right now they control all the systems on every building except for the LEC. So once that gets replaced, switched over and put into our system, then we don't have to, we'll be able to control that operation internally and then we won't have to pay those extra costs.
You want to say it? Okay. I don't tell me, I gave you that opportunity. Okay. I digress. Okay, everybody clear on the HVAC control placement? And we've talked about that. I mean, we've been talking about that for a couple of years. So. Window seal repair, that's just,
There
is
is
that
not,
specific?
it's non-existent. Basically, every window in this building is air leaky. So I'd like to go through and
Get them
beef
sealed
them
up.
up a little bit.
Okay, Procom system.
Procom system, right now we have to rely on, maintenance to stay till 4:30 to lock this building down. So if somebody's sick, not here, whatever, now we have to kind of scramble or forget, and somebody here figures out that we haven't locked the building up. Thought was is to get Procom here, have a card key, enter the building on both north and south entrances. And that would take care of all of it.
So this was at my request. And actually I was looking into this last year when I came in because it was as our old maintenance director was going through a key registry and updating all the keys throughout the entire building and the hundreds of keys that are out there to get into this building. I just thought was a pretty big security risk. One. Two was, as Eric said, we're relying on the maintenance department and or the bailiffs to come over and lock this building down. So if we go to a Procom system, we get to remove keyed entry, which would be fantastic. for this building, then every person would have a card access like they do across the street. Then all that's actually then in the system, so we know when someone is coming in and out of the building at all times, which is great for security. And then two, it could automatically lock. So the system unlocks at 7 a.m., opens the doors, and then locks itself, at 4:30. So, it's just one of those things where we're just trying to get this building, continuing to work on updating some of the systems internally. So we're having the same thing across the county.
And I think additionally, one of the doors in this building is in need of replacement anyway, the handicap, or at least it's not always functioning correctly. So it would just be kind of joined with that project.
They go
Do it all at
hand in hand.
once.
And that's the exterior door replacement
That would be
or
for
part of that.
some of that. Yep. I don't think we'll spend 75 on one door, but it might catch the north and south side on this building.
Hey, on the
Just for 2 doors?
It would be 4 or 5, yeah.
5
Yeah.
Doors are
75,000?
expensive.
And they have to be electrified. So
on the Procom system, and Jeremy, you kind of touched on this a little bit. Everybody would have a key or card, a badge, if you almost will. But if it opens automatically at 7 and locks at 4:30 during the day, you don't use your card. Is that correct?
correct.
Yeah, you don't have to use the card. We could shut that
Yeah.
part of it off. This is, it's not like across the street.
Yeah.
Where they have that locked, they have their time sets on there specifically, like, or at least the
Yeah.
Galena door. here.
Yeah, because, and
Yeah.
the reason I say that is obviously it's a public building.
Correct.
I know we don't have, the bailiff or whatever here, but you got to have the public be able to get in.
And they would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were
The
able to
only,
set
the only
schedules.
card that the employee would need would be during those off hours.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
he is.
Yeah, I would love to have that door locked at 4:30 every day. Come on, shut them down before they start coming in here.
All right, we're running a little behind here and we have the sheriff sitting. So, and that's my fault. So I take the blame anyway for it. Any other questions for Eric in regards to his capital budget?
The plaster repair did we ever get that Build Illinois Trust Fund from Denver that we're supposed to do the plaster?
That was all tuck pointing.
That was all
That-
touch
And it was-
point,
it's
not
done.
plaster.
Yeah.
Not plaster?
Not
Yeah.
interior.
And that project's done. Funds
Yeah.
have been, have come back in. We've been reimbursed.
And that was this year that we got that.
Reimbursement, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
And,
Just the tip of the iceberg here, so.
yeah, it's, not gonna promise you get everything, but,
somebody
obviously,
could
but we'll do the best we
File for a
can.
grant for any of
Yep.
that.
Yeah, we'll take 5 real quick and
I mean, so for your question.
thank you. All right,
Is
take 5.
could we go and get a grant to
Yeah.
do the old
Oh, no, keep going, keep going. I'll have 15 minutes. I can get through this.
All right,
Okay.
we're back in order and person in the hot seat now is the sheriff. Thank you, Clay, for coming in. I hope.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, I hope.
I hope it's over soon, he says.
All right, so we've got your budget up, Clay, and we've got a lot to go through. Of course, you're about 46% of the county general budget, so I guess let's just get started. Just
So I guess, line items that I had adjusted, like salary part-time was budgeted at 150 last year for this year. I'd like to increase it to 160,000 as far as part-time wages, get to that $25 per hour where we can attract part-time personnel as far as bailiffs. We had mentioned that before, so we're competitive with like Amboy PD currently pays their part-time officers $25 an hour. If we're looking at overtime, we had budgeted for 240. We're looking at, well, what's projected is over 300. I'd requested 300 last year. I'd like to bump it up a little bit, try 280. Hopefully we can get a lot closer. We've had some incidents with deployments, officers being injured. So, that obviously affects the overtime budget. For instance, today I've got 2 deputies covering 729 square miles. So if somebody calls off, I got to call somebody in. And tonight what's slated is 3 deputies to cover 729 square miles. Let's see, I'll skip holiday pay, sick pay, all that. Next thing I had, budget for clothing allowance was 25,000. I'm asking for another 5,000 or 30,000 up to anticipated increases. New hire costs, the budget was 40,000 this year. I'm requesting 45,000 anticipated increases. Inmate medical budget was 120,000 this year. Currently, we're averaging about $11,000 a month. So I'm budgeting for $12,000 a month. So requesting $144,000 for inmate medical.
Is that contractual, Clay, the inmate medical?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
so it's going to go up. I believe it was 4.97% last year.
Yeah, and do they do that based on your head count, or do they just say, here's your flat rate? You know what I mean?
No, they do it based on your average daily population.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we did some bartering last year to keep it lower. They wanted it a lot higher. So I think there's definitely probably going to be an increase. We only signed a 1-year contract.
Is there,
And no,
Advanced Correctional Healthcare, ACH is.
I've noticed when we go through claims, it fluctuates between 11,000 and this month was 13,000.
Yeah.
So you can tell that the jail's more full.
Clay, is there other people you can, do you get bids on that or just a bid from them because they're the only ones to do it?
They're one of the very few that are around.
Okay.
I believe Whiteside County actually just got dropped by them. They decided to go to a private vendor. But then there's a lot more management of the staff, the medical supplies and that we're
Well,
kind of
and the only
ACH.
reason I ask is with the wonderful program we have with the state, we have less inmates. So I didn't know if it was something that we could change, or if there's other
And
people
we-
that bid
it-
on it, or,
It
if it's
might-
an opportunity to save money.
I would like to find another vendor that we could
Okay,
possibly
that's
do another
fine.
bid.
I'm not trying to micromanage you
Yeah,
to do it.
no.
I just asked questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
nope, not a problem at all.
So just to stop you real quick, Clay.
Sure.
Clay. What the guys had reduced that, done an adjustment down there, $14,000 back to 130. And I'm assuming you put that in because of run rate.
Which one is?
Yeah, sorry, those are maybe more of my playing numbers. I probably grabbed maybe not exactly the draft that I wanted to for sheriff. So I apologize on that, Clay. This was me playing with run rates and whatnot. I would say the big adjustments that really you should look at are just the ones related to payroll benefit items.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
I apologize on that, Clay.
okay. As far as payroll, with the obviously advent of body cameras, it's more work for us. So currently, one of our administrative assistants, Lori, is putting in about 3 to 4 hours a day parsing out. So we have a command central module. So then she has to take the video from that deputy and link it to that call. So then it's all under one umbrella for that response. That's taken some extra work. We had a deputy last year that was on limited ability for quite a while. So they were able to focus on our evidence room and getting that really cleaned out, squared away. She has since been released back to full unrestricted duty. So we could see the use for this other part-time person utilizing the evidence room as far as keeping track of evidence and disposing of it as the cases come to a resolution. Unfortunately, before, it's always fallen on the detectives, and they honestly just don't have the time to dedicate to go. They've got caseloads. They don't really have time to go through evidence and dispose of it. So what was happening is things just kept growing and growing and growing. We just moved out there, 6 years ago? So a lot got taken care of during the move, but then things were starting to build up again. So fortunately for us and for that deputy, she was able to handle a lot of it, but we'd like to keep on the current path and maintain that evidence disposition.
And you're saying that's in the part-time line item?
No,
Where-
that'd be
where
a
you at?
full-time clerk. We have listed for a new hire.
Okay, all right, that's in your full-time salary line item.
Correct.
Request.
It's an administrative job, correct. And then I'd also ask for another new hire for investigations. We've had some, we've been trying to keep the Amy Todd Fleming case going. We've sent some evidence off for analysis, got some pretty viable results, but we really need to get somebody sitting down to dig into it and go through the boxes of evidence to get everything in order. And currently with the investigative caseload as it is, they really don't have time to do that. So I'd like to get another deputy on the road and move somebody with experience back into investigations. That would give us 4 investigators, but really I want one to really focus on the Amy Todd Fleming case. And we've had several meetings with the state's attorney's office. We've been told some promising results if we can find the right person.
So, okay, just so I'm clear, your headcount ask is 1 full-time admin
Correct. And one full-time.
and 1 full and a patrol.
Correct.
But the
Go ahead, Tom.
patrol will be replace somebody you're gonna move into detectives.
Yeah, we wouldn't hire
So it doesn't
somebody off
help
the
us.
street to be a detective, you know, we'd
Well,
hire-
no, so that
yeah.
doesn't help us with our overtime thing, really.
Well, there is a light
I
at
mean,
the
we're
end.
not adding a deputy to the road, so.
We will eventually, I guess. We've got 2 guys that are going to be graduating from Sauk Valley Law Enforcement Academy here August 19th, I believe.
We've
And then
already got them in the head count, right? I mean,
they're in the head count,
Yeah.
yeah, but then see, they're not technically on their own. They've
Right,
got to go through
right.
the field training process. And that's the devil with law enforcement training. You got to go to an academy for 4 months, then you've
And you
got
gotta-
3 months at least of field
on the
training.
road, yeah.
And, usually it takes 2 to 3 months to find them. So once we lose somebody, we're almost down
A year.
an individual for a year.
Right.
So it will help us curb the overtime, hopefully, and eventually. And if I can keep, I can't forecast military deployments or can't hold them back on that. And that's,
And we, if I'm a military person, I know if I'm activated, you have to let me go.
Mhm.
But if I volunteer to be activated,
We still have to let you go.
you sure?
Mhm. You, Sarah.
And we have
Yep.
to do the benefits the same way and everything.
Yep. Yep. If they are making more as a patrol deputy, than they would in the military, we have to offset that. So they're making the status quo.
I didn't need to hear that.
Yeah.
That just makes it even worse. I mean, so we're helping them double dip is what we're doing and
We're keeping what their monthly income is, we're keeping static.
but they're gonna have two pensions when they're done.
Well, yeah, depending how long they
I mean,
serve.
I
They
spent 6
could.
years in National Guard. I understand it.
Yeah.
The part about you have to let me go for my 2 weeks and stuff, but okay.
Yeah. And that's annual. That's
Yeah.
2 weeks annual, but usually these deployments are at least a year.
If you want to get super granular on what then is being reported to the pension system, it's only the difference, right? So they're obviously the way that's all calculated kind of depends on when you're retiring and whatnot and what years of salary
So you
count
only get-
towards
only
your
get part of your
retirement
pension
amount.
for
But
that.
if it say it were at the end of someone's service, the difference that we're paying them for military time is nowhere close to what their full-time salary would be, right? So we then, as the county, are not as responsible for
Okay.
payments to IMRF for SLEP because
They're not making.
what their Lee County wages are much less.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So the one thing that stood out to me was food and meals, Clay.
Mhm.
We're down in inmates, but we're up in cost. Gotta love that. So
Right, so as part of the contract, they request us to supply a porter to assist with making the meals. And currently with the individuals we haven't identified anybody that we would entrust with that responsibility. So that spikes it about $2,000 a month. So that's about a $24,000 hit. Obviously we'll.
for a port, now explain, what is what was,
Porter is just an inmate, a trustee
oh,
that would
gotcha.
go and help them as far as making the meals, meal prep, meal service, meal delivery. So
Oh,
right now, yeah, we don't have anybody. I mean, that could change tomorrow, next month. But, we always keep that option open. But currently they are charging us for not having that porter because they're bringing somebody else in.
have we ever?
Wow.
Have we with less people investigated going back to local meals like we used to do? I know that Sheriff Simonton told us people get diabetes in our jail. I don't believe a minute of that. People get diabetes because of what they eat. They don't get it because of our
Over a
damn
long period of
jail
time.
in a
Yeah.
short period. So but I mean, we used to buy, and it was good for the community that we bought meals from local restaurants, from the taxpayers. And now we spend all this money that continues to go up. Is it something we can investigate and say, let's shut the kitchen down? And
We could look at that.
I mean, it just seems like a hell of a cost saving. Like I'm just,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you
if we could-
question it also. So,
Double would help people
yeah,
in Lee County.
yeah, because our
They
restaurants,
use our kitchen. Yes.
our restaurants could definitely use the shot in the arm.
Well, I think the tipping point was, I think we were basing, and John was basing that with a higher number of inmates.
Correct.
And having the
Maybe
ability
now.
to do the things now. But now if we're down to 29, maybe it's something we need to look.
We had
also-
32 this morning.
He also told us that it was diabetes, that we had
We-
people getting diabetes being in our jail. And I didn't call him out on it because
We've got a frequent flyer inmate that always complains about the nutritional value. So
probably shouldn't be in our jail if we don't like our food.
Frequent flyer inmate.
My mom said if I didn't like what we had
Yeah.
at the table, I could go somewhere else and eat, growing up. So.
But that's one of the responsibilities that ACH or it's CCC. Yeah. That's one of the things that they undertake if there is restrictive dietary needs, they abide by those guidelines where, I wouldn't have to go out and
Are we mandated to do that?
I believe it, yeah, be against the cruel and unusual punishment of the 14th Amendment.
God.
Frequent flyer inmate.
Do Do we know what kind of the average per meal cost is to us?
We probably do, but I don't
And that
have it
would
in front of
be-
me.
No, yeah, I mean, or I guess a number that we could potentially get at, because that would be pretty relevant to
Yeah. Yeah.
determining what we could go out and do a cost.
But I think
benefit
there,
analysis.
again, that's another contract that there's a minimum value that we have to pay them. Whether it's 29, 32 or 50 some inmates, there's a minimum value we have to pay for that service, and then plus the porter cost, which I get your thought process on who do you trust there, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where you say, okay, but now I'm almost less than half than what my normal or what my run rate was at that time. Cause I think at the time, I think we were at 55 maybe, or somewhere around there for average. And
When I came
so,
in,
yeah, that would be something to look at,
Yeah.
but your food cost, I mean, it depends. Do they do 2 meals a day or 3?
they do 3.
3. So you got to think
But
about,
usually,
You have to feed them 3 meals, man. That's
Three-
unhuman if you don't give them 3
well,
meals.
bread and water works for me in the morning. So
3 hots and a
Uh,
cot.
I'm thinking I need to move to Progress Drive instead of where I'm at, but as long as they'll let me out for work release.
It'd definitely be something to look at when we're looking at costs.
Yeah.
They cook. They cook and then they cook in the kitchen. The lunch is the warm meal.
You are actually using.
They're actually using our kitchen. Yes, they're using our stove, oven. But
And that was another part of the attractiveness. You know, we were thinking we were gonna save money and we were also using
I
the
remember.
facility that we built, and it already paid for. But if that contract continues to get out of line with the folks we got in, we've just got to look at it.
Yeah, I'd definitely be looking into doing an outsource.
Yeah, right. But you're gonna have to look at all, because now you're gonna have to, who's gonna go out and get the meals? We're going back to the old ways and,
Yeah.
and somebody's got to go out. So there's
Logistics,
not a
yeah.
total,
Yeah.
cost savings there either.
Correct.
So
Anyway, hate to do this, but back in the day,
back in my day,
we used to get the meals from the Lee County Nursing Home. Of course, we don't have that anymore.
Mhm.
And we had to send somebody out. Well, that's when we struck a deal with several restaurants in town, and they all delivered. McDonald's was part of that. And we had talked to, can't think of the names of the food providers came in. And they looked at what we were doing. They said, we can't touch what you're doing. We can't even get close. So, but now you're dealing with inflation, you're dealing with higher groceries. So I don't know if it's cheaper that way, or it can be, can be done that way, but certainly something to look at.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic, almost everybody delivered to the business now too, so.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
to where you were at, Tim, I mean.
But Uber in the budget.
Yeah. Have Uber pull up to jail.
Uber Eats to Progress Drive. Yeah.
All right. Anything else in your area, Clay, that you want to point out?
Those were the big ones, I think. I talk about the maintenance agreement. The budget was 85. I'm requesting 100,000. Looks like the estimated expenditure from Reed's numbers was 105 for FY '24. Currently with the GPS monitoring as part of the Safety Act, our costs have gone up there. So that's why I'm requesting a little bit more. Right now, we're paying about a little over $2,000 a month for monitoring of GPS inmates. So I factored in about $2,500 a month just to give it a little cushion.
And this is kind of an aside. Can we rename that?
Safety Act? It's
No.
not safe. Yeah,
Well,
you're right. It's
yeah,
not
well,
safe.
let's rename that. But no, that maintenance agreement, because, you read that and you think that's maintenance, and it's not maintenance.
No, you're right.
It's more, like contractual or something like that. But
Yeah.
Maintenance
can we
and
change that?
contractual, I don't know.
Because it's actually confusing every time, and for a new person coming on the committee, I know it's not a big deal and probably doesn't matter to you, but it is, just make it more readable. Come up with a different name.
But
We
do have some
could
maintenance.
rename any line you want.
There you go. Thanks.
The line
You-
exists. It
I
can
mean,
be
do you get
renamed.
it?
Yeah.
Because as you zip through
Yeah.
that, and you
Yeah.
see that maintenance agreement, And it took me a couple of years when I came on the finance committee to understand that's not maintenance. We're not talking maintenance
No.
there.
And
So
what
let's
we
come
can-
up with a different.
What we can do, we're trying to keep the account numbers themselves all generic, meaning no matter if you're in the sheriff's department, you're in the treasurer department, that account number says the exact same thing, says maintenance agreement. So what we could do is we could just add a new account number total, a whole new GL account number with very similar, right next to it, and just claim it or call it whatever you want it. And then maybe even bring over the history to that so that it doesn't confuse the finance chairman.
Yeah, it's just something that always trips up. And because you think, why does the sheriff have a maintenance agreement? What is that for? And it's not what you
No,
think.
no, we can change that.
So.
Hey, the other thing, I don't know if you guys kind of went over it fast or didn't, but Clay, the holiday pay, we zeroed out because you did put it into your pay, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason that is that way is
Contract
the
language.
contract language says it has to be considered, it has to be the way we're paying it out, because we're going to be paying it out in every pay period increment. And it used to be it was paid out at the 1st of December. The contract language now says we pay it out throughout the year, every pay period. And in doing that, it actually becomes part of the value of their pay. So it's regulated to put it in the payroll.
Is that
And then
what
has an
happened to the
impact
stipends
on,
too?
and then that has an impact on the calculation of the overtime rate, right? So before, when we paid it out at the beginning of the year, that was just a payout and didn't really impact anything else other than we had to pay it out really early at the beginning of the year. Now, when it's paid evenly as part of their regular day-to-day, I mean, their paycheck will be the same if they work 84 hours because of this. It becomes basically regular pay. So it gets folded into their base pay. So then when you calculate overtime pay, it's going to be their regular rate of pay plus the holiday pay is what you need to include in the calculation for the overtime rate.
Go
Is
ahead,
that what
Larry.
happened to the stipends too? Because they're out over here. You don't do anything for stipends?
Yeah, those got taken away.
They got taken away?
That was a,
just didn't budget.
I think that was was that the sheriff payout?
That was the safety director.
Yeah,
Public
yeah.
Safety director. Yeah. that got-
It stopped
It's-
when the new mandate came down that the sheriff's pay was predicated on a percentage of
State's attorney.
state's attorney, and then the state came in and reimbursed quite a bit of that. Well, 2/3 of it.
The reason it's not budgeted for probably for FY24 is again, another change to that FOP contract. Where we got rid of one stipend, the one that we're talking about, and the FOP contract added a new one for insurance. So if a member
Oh,
of the
right.
FOP
Right.
is not taking the
Oh.
county's insurance,
Yep.
they basically get a $1,500 stipend that's paid out throughout the year. So that we traded one stipend for another, but we didn't know at the time of budgeting for FY24 that stipend was going to be a part of it.
But it's there for 25. It's-
And Reed actually has an adjustment in the draft budget to reflect that.
Is that confusing for me? Is that like a form of a bonus or like?
No, it's essentially basically possibly limiting our pool of our insurance pool. So if, we have 100 employees. If 10 of them go on their spouse's insurance, they can get that $1,500, but reduces our potential exposure to medical costs. We're down to 90.
So
It's-
as at least, we need to probably clean up the language on that, so it's understood. If you are a county employee,
I heard there was some confusion. Yes.
yes,
Next
there
year,
was,
or next year, next budget. Yes.
for next negotiating, we need to make it clear that, yeah,
Do we have
we all
any-
know what we're talking about. So,
One more and I'm done.
yes, go ahead.
This one.
You're never
It's for
done.
Jeremy. Do we have any departments that have bonuses for the employees?
The only bonuses that are out there are longevity bonuses, and that's a countywide bonus. So
So
all
the
the
department heads have all the authority. to do bonuses?
non-union, I do believe, right?
It's-
Well, so there,
It's on the county code.
there's several different union contracts. Some of them have a longevity bonus in them.
Right.
A lot of them align with what our county handbook says for all non-union employees. There are other union contracts that are similar, maybe not quite the same. The one that probably stands out that is different, and is really kind of a bonus, like you would get graded on, is probation. There's like a system that they have where if you meet certain marks, it determines a bonus adjustment. The other thing to add to that, though, is that most of their salaries are all reimbursed from the state.
I was just gonna say
So
that.
that's the one that's kind of an outlier in terms of how everybody else's works, but their wages are reimbursed. So
So just a longevity bonus across the county for years of service.
Thank you.
All right, let's go run down through dispatch. So,
Actually, we're gonna have a tenured dispatcher retire here in December, so we'll be bringing on a new dispatcher at a lower rate.
so let's, I want to be clear because we've had the sidebar conversation in regards to that top line, the dispatch fees, that is reflective of the new agreement.
Correct, yes.
And we anticipating reopening that or having any discussions?
I would love to the guy just left. I would love to reopen that with the cities. I think, as I mentioned previously, I think
And does the new agreement allow us to reopen that at any time?
the agreement does allow us the opportunity.
Wow, I
to-
thought we were, and I need to reread that, but I thought we we were locked in for the first
No, there's a.
so many
There's a
years.
clause that we can reopen it for negotiation.
Cool.
So-
I mean, I'm with you, Clay. I still think we're on the short end of the stick there.
Right, I think we can get a substantial increase as far as our dispatching.
Obviously, we're going to encourage you to find reimbursement wherever you possibly can.
One of the areas I've been looking at, sir.
But as far as budget this year, we're not, of course, we're not going to.
That's not factored in.
Yeah,
no.
it's not factored in and we won't factor it in until
But
you
that's
know, we see
definitely
something happening. So
a revenue source that we can investigate and hopefully capitalize on.
yeah. Did you hear that, Jeremy? Just talking about that top line of his dispatch budget and
yeah.
possibility of reopening that. So-
Yep, got it.
So, okay.
I think we have an internal conversation that's scheduled for November to revisit that with the county and then move forward.
And
I think I have that on my schedule. It's either October or November.
I think the direction that we've headed with that agreement has been good. But at the end of the day, it has to reflect what the cost is on a
Apples for
per call
apples.
basis. And you know, that's what it comes down to. And if we're not there, I don't see how the county can continue, subsidizing that, because that's what we're doing. We're subsidizing it. And I just think, that's the direction we have to get to, and I encourage you to get us there. So
I will
thank you.
continue in that direction.
All right. Anything there in dispatch that you want to highlight besides the?
No, that was the only thing, is that we have a tenured dispatcher retiring, so we'll be bringing a newer dispatcher on. 10 is our current number of telecommunicators. That seems to be working well. We have not been, we did factor it in. There's a telecommunications supervisor that we currently had not had. We took over scheduling at the sheriff's office before it had been done by the 911 director. There has been a lot of
extra work. So we are looking to make that telecommunications supervisor. So there'll be additional 15% on their salary, but that's already factored in. So that's just basically information for the group. Capital is, you want to move on to the.
Well, before we get there, now is the time for the speech
Okay.
and that is as you're aware of our challenges in this budget cycle, we're encouraging all the department heads to look at all of the proprietary funds and to pull in as much as possible, whatever you can find. Looking down through your stuff, I see, you have a pretty good, and this one I understand is a super, is there such a thing as super restricted, but the commissary fund, you got 172,000 in that. If we can figure out how, what we can pull out of that.
Is that current number? Because we
Uh,
actually purchased a new van out of that.
Yeah.
That fund is not gonna be current.
That is not
They
current?
manage it's current for the fund balance as of the start of the year.
Okay.
So the number that is definitely a good number is the 132,764.
Gotcha. Because that is the $40,000 adjustment. That's the van.
More so to just align with their
Oh, okay.
revenue projection. I get, why handcuff us if we think that they're going to bring $120,000 in revenue in?
Right.
Why short us in terms of being able to expend those funds where we can? This particular fund is one where their books are kind of maintained by the sheriff's office. There's not a whole lot to it. It's basically one bank account. And so the activity that we get from them, we put into our accounting software at the end of the year for audit purposes. That would be one that in Whipley's recommendations, best practices, would be one that we're looking to essentially bring on to our accounting system in real time. But there's logistics that go into that, and figuring out how that's all going to work takes a little bit of time.
But still, the point being, you've got a number of funds, Clay, and a lot of them not with a huge amount of balance, but still, as much as we can pull out of those to help your budget out is
Yes, so when we get new squads, a lot of times we'll use some money out of the tow fund, the DUI fund. As far as outfitting the equipment for the cars as well. So yeah, we try and utilize those when we can.
And of course, I do want to mention, because you got that Mars grant, and appreciate you. I know you've heard our mantra of encouraging everybody to go after grants, and that was a good catch. So we appreciate that. All right.
The body camera grant that we just got too, that was a surprise, a good surprise.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, before we go on to capital.
Sure.
Real quick, Clay, during COVID, we basically were holding prisoners because we couldn't transport them or anything. Is that program still an active program? Do we have anybody like that then we transfer and the state kind of pays us back, or no? Is that not an available?
That's not available currently because the state will accept prisoners from us now.
Okay.
I don't know whatever happened with that, because I remember they were trying to keep track of the inmates during that time.
Yeah.
And try to bill the state.
And the reason I'm asking is I got an email from somebody at the Illinois Department of Revenue, today's Tuesday. He says we have 2 checks outstanding that we haven't cashed from them for transportation. And I'm just wondering if that was from 3 years ago, or was it recent? So do we still have that program?
That probably from 3 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not from any program that I'm,
not, it's,
Currently
so
aware
it's not a, okay, so we're not doing it now anymore?
no.
Okay.
Nope. As soon as,
Well, if you guys want to take a look in the office, if you see anything laying around, otherwise, I think what we have to do, since if they're that old, all we have to do is ask them to reissue.
I would ask to reissue, yeah.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and try to get that
There
reissued.
shouldn't be anything that old. Well, and then usually have banking guidelines that, anything over 120 days is.
Well, the state, yeah, they'll dead it and they'll cheat it, or this guy seems to be pretty good about reaching out to different counties and going, hey, you got some money here.
Perfect.
Or did you lose the check? Because if you tell him you lost the check, what's that?
He doesn't work for the state. He's reached out to give us.
Yeah, he actually does. Illinois Department of Revenue, it's probably his job to reconcile the bank account. So he's going, hey, clear these checks, right? So, okay, that's why I was wondering, I'm thinking, wow, is that program still going?
No,
Okay,
nope. As soon as Charlie gets them committed, we'll
send them on their
get the
way.
paperwork in order and
Yeah.
sent off in a couple days.
Okay.
Capital.
Yes, sir.
Let's start first line. We've got the carryover for the body cameras, and that's so this is, we're carrying over. We just, because we haven't been invoiced,
We haven't
it's
been
just a
invoiced on-
timing
Yes.
issue on that.
We've still got some outstanding invoices we believe that need to be submitted
Okay.
based on the contract that we signed with them.
All right, but that's not new money.
It's not new
in
money.
the-
That's been set apart. And then again, that grant of 44,000 that we got, that just goes back to the county
Sure.
for what you guys outlaid as far as capital.
All right, then we've got radios. Talk about the radios.
Radios, yes, that's the big one. We've been having some coverage issues, whether it be between the courthouse and the jail, being in-building issues. We've had some external outside of the building issues around Amboy, around Paw Paw, where we haven't been able to reach our deputies, or they can't reach back to us if there's an issue. We did try, well, I guess let me start that. We recognized these issues 2 years ago and asked Motorola about augmenting their system. Motorola provided us with a bid of about $1 million that they wanted the county to foot to put up another tower over in the Paw Paw Compton area that would increase the signal strength for the radios. I think they were trying to capitalize on counties getting the ARPA funds. We knew that wasn't tenable, so we moved on from that $1 million. Then they came out with these portable radios that have systems within them that will, if the radio strength is low, they will go to Wi-Fi, which our squads all have Wi-Fi in them currently. Well, they will have Wi-Fi for the body cameras. And then it also reaches out to cellular technology. So it'll find that the strongest signal and be able to communicate. We tried them out at the courthouse, between the courthouse and the jail, where we've been having the problems, and they worked flawlessly. They are a little pricey, obviously.
I was gonna say $11,000, they better work
Yeah.
flawlessly.
Then they also, so we have issues of in-building coverage at KSP Hospital, Dixon High School, Sauk Valley College. These radios have the capability to input, I believe it's 24 various Wi-Fis. So when you get, as long as we have the guest user account for like KSP Hospital programmed into the system, once we get inside, we're on their Wi-Fi, and that will remedy any portable coverage issues in that building, in that specific building. So, and with Lee County, we might have a dozen of those locations that we would need to get their guest Wi-Fi passwords.
Now, I just want to be clear. These are not radios in the cars.
These are
The portable radios that the officers are carrying with them on themselves.
correct.
Okay. And how old are our radios that we're carrying currently? Seems like have we been Seem like we've been cycling them about every 3-4 years.
We might be getting a couple every year. I believe the radio that I have is about 6 years old, as far as a Starcom radio. And that's another capability of these newer radios. So we're on Starcom, as far as frequency, that's 700 to 800 megahertz, where the city of Dixon is on VHF, which is like 170 hertz. So these new radios have the ability to go between those bands, whether it be VHF, UHF, or Starcom. So we get into a situation with the city of Dixon, we can get on theirs. Right now, I don't have that capability with my portable radio. But we could get on with them as far as communication during a critical incident. You know, Ogle County with the situation that we had up there, could get on with them and have seamless communication between the individual deputies. And I think I tried to spell it out in the capital request proposal, so.
Rating value on them or?
That's a good question. I don't know. Well, it's a good question. I don't think they haven't offered, obviously, to a lot of these. They'll say they're end of life. You know, they're not going to service them after about 6 years. So that's, I think, their marketing ploy to get you to continue to buy newer technology. We haven't thrown them out. I think we have actually a bank of some of the older ones that are still.
I mean, obviously, you don't have.
Correct. Yes, there's encryption. So, so basically, unless they would have the key loader to have our passcode, people out in Radio Land wouldn't be able to hear our communications.
Are these radios play through one of the dealers, or is it direct through Motorola?
This was direct through Motorola.
Okay. All right. I think I have a contact that I want to call to see if I know they do grants directly with their customers, and I want to see if I can't help us with that.
Sure. Yeah, this was through, Cameron Lundquist, Motorola Solutions Manufacturers Rep.
Yeah. Let me make a couple of phone calls and see if we can't find a grant that they would support us with some of that.
So just so I'm clear on how you've got this structured, Clay. So 44 radios total, and you're spreading it over 2 fiscal years.
Correct.
I guess understanding that technology changes so fast and furious.
This is the top of the line stuff. So this should hopefully last us. Like I say, they say they have end of life. You know, they will stop servicing them. So I'm hoping like 8 years.
Okay. I guess since I'll go back to what I was still saying, because it's technology and technology changes so fast, and that top of the line stuff, it seems like it goes obsolete relatively quickly. Give any thought? I mean, would there be any advantage to maybe change this to, instead of trying to do it over 2 years, maybe do it over 3?
It's possible.
3 or 4?
Yeah, I'm seeking to try and fix the problem between the new courthouse and corrections, initially get them squared away, so that they're not having issues with video court and arraignments, and then try and fix the issues.
And of course, I'm thinking, you know, if you got some radios that fix that problem there, and you equip the guys that are there with that, and you know, we do this over a period of time rather than trying to eat it. I'm just trying to think of whatever we can do to.
That's why I was trying
to
do 2 years. I mean, you know, conceivably, yeah, we could do it over 3 years. You know, just limit the number that we're going to buy, and then, you know, try and spread it out. But yeah, the big issue right now that I want to try and fix is communications between the jail and the courthouse, as far as, you know, the court proceedings.
So.
And then fix the issues with patrol in those areas of Amboy, Paw Paw, and in building coverage. So as far as, being able to communicate.
Maybe that's a conversation that you guys can have. We can look at some options there and that, within that request.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. Anybody have any questions with regards to radios? Okay. Flock safety license plate reader. Can you talk about that?
Yes, we kind of talked about this, I believe, over a year ago. But so basically, license plate readers are a kind of a force multiplier. Ogle County currently has some. Rockford, Winnebago County, Stevenson County has a number of them. But essentially, what it is, it's almost as if a officer is sitting there at a location and running the plates. So if plates have an investigative alert, if somebody's wanted on a warrant, plates are suspended, the driver's suspended, it'll give you an alert.
So how does that work? Officers sitting at a stop and a car goes by, it grabs it?
It would be just like that. However, these are set up remote license plate readers that once the car passes, it'll read the back license plate. And then if an officer is logged into the system and presumably sitting about 2 miles up the road, they'll get an alert to look for this vehicle. And once it goes by, then they intercept. Ogle County's had very good luck in it. There's been a couple cases. Dixon PD had a case where a sexual predator came up, I believe, from Georgia. And these are becoming much more common in other municipalities and governmental entities. So they were able to trace the route of this guy or pieces of the route on his way up here as far as helping the case, It's on a pole. Yes, it's a camera. It's got a solar powered battery. We would actually rent them.
So these are stationary.
These are stationary, but it acts as if it's the same as if a deputy or a police officer was there in their car running the plates.
Okay.
But it's, like I said, it's a force multiplier. So it's almost as if we have somebody there doing it, where if you sit down the road and something goes by, you can get that alert, stolen vehicles.
So you could set one up like at the intersection of 26 and the interstate, which I'm sure that's
Yes.
an obvious place to put it.
And we have, so the state's attorney's office got a grant through the victim, I believe, violence against women. And they were able to, they had some extra money. They were able to rewrite the grant. So, and it was accepted. And so we have 6 block safety cameras coming that are going to be on the west side of the county. So basically we're going to be covering Route 2 coming in from Whiteside. We're going to be covering Rock Island Blacktop coming in. We got 26 and 88 that we're going to be looking at. I believe 52 and 30. But so we're targeting those initial areas where the population density is.
Sure.
These other 6 cameras we'd like to put over on the east side, which would probably catch any criminal element coming into the Woodhaven area from the Chicago area. 251.
So you got initial ask of essentially $25,000, and that you're buying a couple of these every year, or you got 6?
No, that's
Or how?
the ongoing maintenance fee from.
There's
right,
okay.
Clay.
Yes.
There's like a initial outlay, and then there's a maintenance fee every year.
Gotcha. Of course there would be.
Which wouldn't necessarily be in capital, but I mean, I understand why it's there today, but
Yeah.
that would probably be one
To
of the.
show the cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Show
would,
the overall.
yeah.
But
We finally got the permits all signed off. They're going to be installed here within the next month or 2. Those are covered under the grant currently, but probably next year's budget, I might be coming back for some of the maintenance on those. But currently they're covered under the grant, and they applied for another grant that she inserted those costs. So hopefully they'll get covered under the grant, but they might come up in subsequent budget years.
All right. All right, well, let's, okay, thank you for the explanation on that. Let's move on to the squads. Pretty self-explanatory there. You see the rotation we've got there. One thing that, what kind of challenge you on, Clay, is have you given any thought of going from a 4-year rotation to a 5?
Well, right now, we've had some situations with squads getting in accidents. I would like to have a spare pool of about 2 to 3 squads that are still good, reliable cars. So if we have a situation where a squad gets in an accident, we hit a deer, somebody needs extensive repairs, they have a backup car that they can get into. Right now, we really don't have any backup cars. So my focus is trying to, instead of trading, a good car that might have 110,000 miles, it's still mechanically sound, having that, saving that as a pool car, if a situation arises where we need to utilize it. So I'd like to get a couple spare cars built up in the fleet, and then, then maybe if we are low on mileage, yeah, we can start looking at a longer window. I think the premise behind that 4-year.
So I'm saying, what I'm thinking about how that's going to impact, because these values are taken into account the trade-in value of the cars as we're turning them in, right?
Usually, yeah. There's usually, well, they don't give us a lot. I believe they give us like 6,000 usually, because those cars are usually run pretty hard, have a lot of engine hours on them. So we don't get a real big trade-in value is what I'm getting
Okay.
at.
All right. Any questions in regards to the cars?
That cost include equipping them then? All the
There's
things
some
you
of-
have to do?
There's some of the costs into that,
Okay.
because currently the state bids somewhere around 46,000. So,
Yeah.
I'm putting them at 48. So there's some of those costs, as far as installation of the radios, the
Mhm.
lights. Like I said, we pay for some of those, some of that equipment out of the DUI fund,
Okay.
out of the tow fund. So, if we need a new light bar, if we have an older light bar and we want to retire that one, we
Got
try and
it.
get them out of
You
there.
have to have them painted and all that. They have to be signed, all the signs and all that.
Yep,
go
the
on them,
decals,
that-
all
yeah.
that. Yep, that'll be
Okay.
part of it.
Okay, thank you.
So if you trade 4 in, or you get 4 new ones, to build up your base, if you will, or your squad, are you saying you wouldn't do a trade-in on 1 or 2?
Correct.
And then that would leave you with, your pool of vehicles. But then as you go through, is that where you're saying you still need to do 4 a year, but once we get a couple of pools, we could look at longer?
We could, yes.
Okay. Just making sure I understood that.
Oh, okay, for clarification to that point, I'm seeing 5 squads, is that right?
Correct. One of them was, we negotiated the SAUC College Resource Officer contract, and they are purchasing a car as part of that contract. So we are actually going to donate the current squad. I believe it's a 2016. So we've got our money's worth out of that, donated that to the Law Enforcement Academy as part of the contract, and they are paying for a new car for the college resource officer. So that's why there's technically 5.
Well,
They're paying for one.
And to Jim's point then, was it, if we kept 2, could we like delay a couple of them a year to start into that extra year program?
Probably not this year. Well, we don't have any right now.
Okay.
We don't have any spares. This is the problem. So that's why I need a couple spares to have at the ready.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, so then we've got the Ford Expedition for pulling the EMA trailer.
I was looking for, currently our squads are Ford Explorers.
Mhm.
So they don't have the heavy tow capabilities. So currently,
They don't come with a trailer kit?
They come with a trailer kit, but they're too small of a vehicle to pull the command post.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as far as the pulling the UTV, the other, trailer that Kevin has as far as the barriers, the trailers dwarf the car. So basically, yeah, Kevin's truck is the only one that can really pull all of those. So I was looking to have a secondary vehicle that could also pull those vehicles when needed. We had a situation where we had the command post over on the area of West Brooklyn looking for a missing individual. We had several searches where we utilized UTVs. So it took multiple trips back and forth. So I hopefully streamline the operations a little bit.
And then the rifles.
The rifles, apparently there's a hodgepodge of various rifles, various barrel lengths, various rifle twists. I'm not a big gun guy, but our gun people within the department have asked that we take a look into this as far as getting everybody on the same sheet of music, same weapon, same twist ratios, so once they go through them, the firearms trainers can explain everything in a one fashion to the deputies once they are given to them. There's a couple extra that we are looking to deploy. We're looking to have locations within the courthouse at the ready in case we have an active shooter that deputies could go to that location and retrieve the firearm out of a safe in the event it was needed. So that's why there's a couple extras.
How old didn't we just buy some rifles?
Those
not too
were
long ago?
precision.
That was for the tactical squad.
That's their precision marksman, basically, lack of a better term, sniper rifles.
Right.
They're really accurate out to long distances, which these are more of the tactical patrol response rifles that the individual deputies would have at their car in case we had an active shooter or we had an armed shooter where they would get the extra firepower.
Sure.
To utilize in that situation.
All right.
25.
There is, 24 counting me.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna back up. Where's the extra 20 radios go? You have 44 employees?
You have 52 corrections, and then you got
okay.
part-time, you got bailiffs,
I
part-time
wasn't thinking
bailiffs.
about corrections.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
The corrections aren't assigned a radio per deputy, so we could get by with a pool of about 6 to 8.
Okay.
Because we would need like extradition teams for going out picking up prisoners. The courthouse, the chief bailiff obviously needs one, and then the part-time bailiffs. He's requesting a pool of about 6 up there. So.
No,
Yep.
Thank you.
But the actual road deputies, detectives, they're all assigned their own radio, but.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to Clay's capital requests? Clay, we'll do the best we can.
Okay, that's all I can ask.
I
for.
can't, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna anything,
That's
but it's gonna, I'm gonna be frank with you. It's gonna be a challenge. We understand your needs and we want to support the department, obviously, and we do. We'll do the best we can.
That's all
But
I
when
can
you
ask.
get those license plate readers in place, once,
There should be actually.
can you keep some data for us? I mean,
Absolutely, yes.
because I believe it works. I understand everything you're talking about. But when you can say, well, we caught this many things.
Which led to this increase in fine revenue, yes.
Yeah. Well, that too, but just the fact that here's how well they worked, what we've.
Oh, absolutely.
And then just don't turn Lee County into a LeClaire, Iowa, please.
That's not gonna happen, no,
We're
that's
already down
terrible.
on revenue.
Well,
Oh, that's right. I am finance chairman. Yeah, let's turn this into a
Yeah.
LeClaire. No.
I don't
so
want to.
Clay, have you guys heard anything from I thought there was a Supreme Court ruling that said license plate readers were not.
They're trying to challenge it, but there's so many
Not a-
municipalities, and it's, as I
Yeah.
kind of prefaced it, it's just the same as a person sitting in a squad car with a mobile data terminal running a plate. It's the
Okay.
same thing.
Right.
It's a force multiplier. So
Yeah,
it's-
yeah, because it's not something where you can yeah. There was something, there was
The
a quick,
the
there was,
ACLU is suing the city of Chicago.
Okay, I knew there was a case out there about you couldn't use it as a crutch to pull somebody over just by reading their plate or something. I couldn't remember that. So I was wondering if that was part of what you're hearing. And I could be completely,
Well, it
you know,
runs
out
the
of it.
plate, and if the plate is suspended, plate doesn't come back to that. Well, if the plate's suspended, it's wanted for an investigation, the driver's wanted. They'll flag it and let anybody that's into the system know that there's, hey, this vehicle's coming down Route 2 from Whiteside County.
Okay.
Any other questions for Clay before I release him from the hot seat? I hope it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, no.
So,
No, thank you.
anyway.
No, I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Okay. Dave is up. Come on down. Yeah, Lyram's got to cook lunch. Gotta take care of that lunch crowd. See, we need a
Oh, there you
kitchen
go.
here, and he could be, oh, yeah. Decline. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, any question? Tim's ready to go. We don't have anything to talk about, right? All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Dave. And let's see if I can get my thing working. I'll tell you what, while I'm getting your pages up, because my onboard, of course, now is being stupid and stuck, so it won't release. I don't know whether it's this. Okay, enough of you guys.
Must be an ID 10T problem.
Well, you know, when you're supposed to tap it and get it to close, there it goes, finally. All right.
Yeah.
My problem is I can't read the screen. I'd have to sit in Becky's chair to read the screen. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
And you fly, right? Just to be clear.
Oh. Okay.
Remind me not to get into a plane with you.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. That's a different perspective. So, you know, because I can see the instrument, because I'm flying instrument, man. So anyway, all right. Let's move on. We're wasting time, folks. Solid waste, let's get that done and out of the way. Anything there you want to talk about, David?
There isn't a lot to talk about on this. The only thing I usually point out is that there is the $20,000 soil and water transfer, just so you're aware.
Right.
I put it in there, you guys vote on it, but make sure you're aware of that. Other than that, everything is really basically status quo. The only thing that upticks a little bit is our recycle dumpster contract ticks up a little bit every year, so that's really about it.
Speaking of which, have we solved some of the issues? I think, what was it? Tom Wilson brought up the issue of it being a mess down there. People are bringing in non-recyclable stuff.
It comes and goes. It just does. And in fact, we don't hear too much about them because the villages are on the hook for those. So, we don't really get a whole lot of complaints from them because we're not really responsible for that. But, I don't know. Earlier this week, we picked up about 10 tires there on 4th Street, and it's a pain at times. Other times it just sails right along. So
We have to be in that business.
Do
we have to be? in it?
no, we don't have to be in that business. We do that by choice. Yeah, but it's recyclables. It's the theory way back whenever it started, which was way pre me, was that it would service people in the rural areas that don't have a municipal contract that they can take advantage of. So there's nothing
I don't wanna delay the
mandating,
meeting,
no,
but I
it's
just
nothing
wonder-
mandating that. So it's
I
up
just
to
wonder how
us.
much that's changed because
It's up to us whether we keep the entire program or a portion of the program. I mean, you can say, well, just pull them out of Fourth Street. I can do that, but we can keep them in all the other municipalities if you wanted to. It's completely up to you.
you have an opinion.
Yeah, my opinion is I'd rather not deal with the garbage at Fourth Street. However, I
Well-
do know that a lot of people use it. So it's kind of like I put up with it because I
Yeah,
know that people, a
Unfortunately.
lot of people like it and take advantage of
Well,
it.
you
So
know,
you,
the challenge there is that, you know, especially from my perspective, if the utilization was going for what it was designed to do from the beginning, which was to facilitate recycling, how much of the garbage that's getting pulled from Fourth Street is actually going into recycling? It's just, or is it just garbage?
well, are you talking about the actual recyclables actually being recycled?
Correct.
Yeah, so every now and then you can find an article on your news feed about what happens with all that stuff. And, you know, I don't know, well, it's been 5-6 years ago now. China said, nah, we're not taking any more of your recyclables anymore. And the whole world was, the entire world was thrown into chaos with what to do with their recyclables because China just took them and did whatever they did with them.
Right.
I think
A lot of them got dumped in the ocean.
Shoved in the ocean is I think what
Yeah.
happened.
Especially
So,
plastics.
yeah, there's a certain percentage that, yeah, it doesn't get recycled. I think your cardboard, obviously aluminum, your paper products and stuff, I think, you know, that goes into the recycle stream, but yeah, 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 we'll get that. I mean, really, the sorters, when it gets taken to the MRF is who ends up dealing with that. If it's in the bin, we can't tell if it's in there or not most times, but around outside, yeah, we deal with garbage and people remodeling their bathroom, that stuff ends up there and whatever.
So one of the things, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you know, would be to start restricting the items that get put in those things to things that actually get recycled, to your paper products and your glass and your aluminum, and exclude all the plastic
Yeah,
crap.
I think it'd be a hard train to stop though. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of maybe the ideal way to approach it, but stopping that train once
I
it's
was gonna say,
started.
other than having it
Pretty
behind
tough.
a fenced off area that somebody
somebody
is
there.
monitoring,
I was gonna say,
how do
this-
you stop it?
it's already restricted to recyclables and it's not.
Yeah,
you know,
but people think that plastic is recyclable.
it's posted on those bins what can
Well,
and cannot be in there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people are throwing their garbage in there, Jim. I mean, they
Well,
don't,
and that was my point.
they don't care. The issue becomes you've got a few people that make it unfortunate for everybody else who's actually doing it correctly.
In my cul-de-sac, people will drive around and put their garbage in. People don't want to pay garbage. You know,
Right.
$50 a month.
I didn't think of that.
Right. Right.
Now you gave Tom an idea.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, no, what I'm getting at is I think that this is a discussion for another meeting because we all know what we kind of need to do with that and it's,
Right.
we're working with.
But
the
it
city of
is,
Dixon as well.
significant because it's getting close to $250,000. And as
tough money.
as we're looking through every line item, trying to find money that
Well, and how much that
close
would go to the
a-
landfill if it didn't go
deficit.
there, which we get revenue off of. I know it's a double-edged sword. but-
well, and that brings me to, as far as we're showing the run rate this year of 544,000. We're going to go ahead. We don't, Paul's going to scream at me.
Yeah.
We can't push that 400,000 number at all?
Oh, in terms of what we get in for host fees?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
even,
up to the
yeah,
Republic.
yeah, and I'm not even sure that might say a run rate, but I'm telling you, if we get to 450, I'd be surprised this year. we only have 3 months left. We have, we'll get paid in October for September, August, and July, and that's our last payment.
Right, so
For our
that
fiscal
run rate
year.
is gonna be slightly misleading just because of the way, it's
The
not
way
a,
it
it's not a
runs, on the
monthly
timeliness.
transaction, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah, I
come
get it.
and bring us 3 months worth of transactions in 1 month, so we post it, and so if you're somewhere in the middle of when you got that money or right after you got that money, it's gonna screw up that run rate.
We get about anywhere between 420, 450 a year. So if you're looking to push that up, you could. And then again, for solid waste, we've got our resolution or our rule that says we have to have $2 million in there as a fund balance. The rest, we have been moving to the reserves.
Yeah, and you see that in the transfers in.
Yeah.
Or transfers out.
Yeah, or we use them as part of to cover any deficit.
Right.
That we could. But no, I don't see the revenue side of that getting pushed much above, I wouldn't push it much above 450 at the moment. But again, that all goes back to Republican, and I thought maybe Charlie or somebody was having a discussion with them anyway about our fees not being, or maybe it was Bob, that we were lacking a little in fees.
Well, there was some outliers on monthly numbers that we were showing. They were showing tonnage numbers of X,
Yeah,
and the revenue we were getting didn't correlate to the Y
yeah. But then
of
I think,
other months.
and I think they were showing that some of that was
Yard
unusual.
waste and.
Yeah, wood-based or
Right.
or construction-based.
Alternate daily cover is the big item in that situation you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right,
So, yeah, I mean, so from this perspective, I wouldn't push the revenue side of it over 450. I just wouldn't. It's unreal.
okay. All right. I'm just looking at whatever we can, as you know.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on down. Anybody have any other questions on solid waste? We'll move on.
There should be a transfer out on that solid waste of about 39.
41.
Is it 41 somewhere?
41.
That comes into highway. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it there? It is there. Okay,
Yep.
there's the 41. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, Dave, you want to move on to county highway?
Sure. Let's see, looking at things that may or may need explanation. Most of it is, you've been through it before, is fairly self-explanatory, and fairly routine. This one's fairly routine. I did want to point out on the salary others line item, I've got a number bigger than the neat line number of employees times wages is in there. It's a little bit bigger. Just so you know, the reason is that I may have an overlap situation where I know the shop foreman's retiring, so there may be some sort of overlap. Particularly if it's an outside hire, to come in for a few months or whatever it is.
Sure.
So there is a little bit extra if you question that. Other than that, everything is pretty much status quo. The health insurance, IMRF, FICA, blah, blah, blah. I don't do those numbers. So I'll plug those in there as necessary. The other things I want to point out on this, you'll see a large number in highway construction. That reflects a wind farm payment we got for this GSG repower project. So 2 things on that. When you look at the county highway balance, it's fluffed by that number. All right. But it needs to get spent out. And so it'll get spent out next year. So that's why that number is substantially higher than normal. And then I've got 350,000 plugged in on the furniture and equipment. And that's essentially a truck.
Which, by the way, we did see the 2 trucks, the check is actually going out today.
So you should have, so 2 cab and chassis, and then we got 2 build outs.
Yeah, it's like
correlating to that. that'll be coming.
130 something a piece or something like that.
Yep. The one I ordered 4 years ago is here and done. Finally, about a month ago, we got it. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. The 2 that we ordered last year about this time when we were talking about all this, cab and chassis are here. Now we're waiting on the build out. Which is one of the reasons why we did what we did at the time we did it, if you remember, was we could get a hold of them. So we did.
Right.
It's another issue that we can talk about at a different time. Yeah. Yep.
And those trucks, though, that's already been, that cost has already been sucked out of capital.
24.
Right.
Yeah. 24. That's 24 stuff.
And actually, Jim, we had that in the highways budget for 24.
Right.
Not in capital, but actually in his.
In
run.
his budget, we
It-
transferred it.
There was
Yes,
800,000.
yes.
Was in
We
there in
spent it out of-
24,
yeah.
And honestly, it will spend 800 plus on that just because things, they
Costs-
went up.
Yeah.
Right.
Costs over the last few
On
years
it.
have gone increased, but yeah, so we
Not
didn't.
a lot plus, but
Yeah.
some.
Sure.
Where you're seeing that is, the levy value was increased, and that kind of helped to offset some of the costs, and that's why we threw those costs in there.
One thing to note, maybe on this year's budget, I know this is for the 25 budget, but as I look down through what I would project to be a budget, either surplus or deficit, I was just kind of going through the line items. It appears we'll have a surplus. One thing I would like to do, and this goes to equipment, with that surplus to honestly spend it out, is our 2 engineering vehicles that we have are pretty unreliable. We got an 05 pickup truck with 170,000 miles on it.
Sounds like
And
mine.
we have Kevin Lally's 2008 Blazer hand-me-down, if you remember that from
Right,
several
yeah.
years ago. That we don't know if it starts from one time to the next. And so wouldn't mind picking up a pickup.
Okay,
If we
you're
can do
gonna
that.
put that in this year's capital
Well, I'm
request?
gonna try and get it this
Or,
24. If I get down to September, October, I can really zero in on where I think we're gonna be. I mean, I don't want to do this and go over budget. I would say if there's surplus in it.
Yeah, he's
In-
saying
in the
he's got a
budget.
surplus that he can use to buy.
I'm thinking at this
gotcha.
point.
Yeah.
But once my numbers get closer, say, September, October, then I'll know
right,
Yeah.
a lot better and make sure we don't
And
go over
I
budget with
would-
it.
I
And
would
we
agree with
can
that
talk
theory.
about that before.
I-
Again,
I-
that's 24, so we don't have to really talk about it right now.
sure.
Um,
Nope, that's good.
So other than that, not a whole lot of interesting things.
So.
Just isn't.
Yep.
I mean, we talk about the natural gas bill, but that's not very fun.
So I'm just looking down through is there anything on special bridge or matching or motor fuel tax? I think we better talk about motor fuel tax a little bit,
Sure.
but let's, anything in those in special bridge? or
Just to give,
matching?
just for awareness, so when you see a line item says township bridge reimbursement, that'll be the money we get back from a building or from a bridge that we're building. Actually, right now, it's under construction right now. That stuff won't get all finalized out. The paperwork won't get all finalized out in this budget year. So that's why you're seeing that money come back in. Because the way we do those bridges again, we front all the money out of there and then we go get it from 2 other sources after that when the jobs, everything's all approved and all this stuff goes on. I'll get it back from Township Bridge and then from the township itself. There's certain monies to come back and get. So that's what that one is. And then when you look down at the Township Bridge expenses, that would then be the money that we plan to front for a bridge we plan to build next year. So when it again comes to the county matching, again, remember that I'm carrying charges on that as well from that will owe the state of Illinois once projects get finalized out.
Sure.
And we carry quite a bit of that, actually. So I always budget like we're gonna get everything billed out in the current year, even though we
know we
do.
won't. Right.
But if it were to come, want the money there.
Motor fuel tax. So
Yeah.
we've had the increase are we seeing as far as the revenues go from the increase, is that making an impact? Are we seeing that?
There is an impact. It is not the impact that we all hoped we would see. But it has been beneficial. Yeah, it really has. I think, and I can note that just anecdotally when we set up the programs for all the townships and all their maintenance work that they do. We're doing stuff like we did back when I first started with the county. They're doing more, turning more gravels into seal coat roads. They're doing a little bit more hot mix work. We were doing all that back in the early 2000s. That quit. Probably, we really tightened up, a few years after that, and it never came back until this. Now we're starting to do that again. So, I mean, you can see the impact, or I can. I don't know if the casual road user can quite yet at this point, but I can see it in the projects that we're doing.
Okay.
And the county motor fuel tax and those federal aid, those are dollars that you have to hold on to until you get a project value established to do your whole project. So it's not like that's money there to be spent in other places, correct? I just
Right.
want to make sure these guys understand how that works.
Right. And in particular, the county motor fuel tax, a lot of what we get gets sucked up in just your maintenance materials. Okay, the salt that you buy, the aggregate you buy, the patch mix you buy, the things you put on the road just to do some maintenance, and the materials, sign material, all that kind of stuff. The other big draw out of there, of course, is the money that we take for our reimbursement of labor and equipment, that $420,000 every year that we end up plugging back into county highway. So that's a big chunk of it too. When it comes to the actual road work, generally what we're doing with our MFT money is we sprinkle a little in this project, a little bit over here. It's matching other funds that we're using. So even rarely at county highway do we have enough that we can build up and do what you might call sizable project, but it's there to fill in around the edges.
Do you have any capital, any requests on capital? I'm not seeing them here.
I think what I put in capital was essentially a truck a year for whatever length we filled that thing out.
But we don't.
Oh yeah. And I always go through this exercise as well that you got up there on the screen so that we know what our prediction is for where we're going to land at the end of 25. I mean,
right.
Why do the budget if we don't predict where we're going to end? And as I look at the highway fund in particular at $1 million, that's okay. I think like I told Jeremy and Reed, my absolute bare minimum that still make me nervous would be 800,000. So landing there is just about right. It's okay. Not excessive, but it's fine. And the other ones are as well. That one is a bit low.
You were basing that off of the same off of your levy from last year, or you plugged in?
No. I plugged in all 25 projections that I had from when I made this up.
Okay.
And then the special bridge, that's getting a little low. And honestly, I think what we're going to have to start doing is we're not going to be able to front the bridge projects like we used to because Township Bridge Fund increased. I don't know if you remember me talking about that a while back, but that increased. So there's going to be more Township Bridge work going on. We just may not have the cash to front it, which is okay. We don't have to do it that way. That's a super clean way to do it financially. It's just real easy, but we don't have to do it that way. We can take that TBP money when we get it and spend it, but nevertheless, the other ones are in okay shape as well. Yeah. Yeah, motor fuel tax, we'll see where we actually land at the end of the year. We might be getting into territory then where I can actually apply a little more of that to, this is more substantial portion of that to a road project.
Okay.
Because if you remember, I'll do a maintenance agreement. I got it here because I fill out the estimate that you'll see come November. I fill that out now. I'm doing my budget. Let me see what I've got estimated here. I brought it. Cause I've got 1.2 million estimated just in the maintenance estimate for it. So.
Okay. As far as with our building project goes, you're not anticipating, we've had the 400,000 plugged in there that we've been carrying.
So as far as how that's gonna, we don't know how that's gonna play out timing wise. Well, yes, we'll need it. Are we gonna need it in 25? I'm not sure. What we're doing currently, just so you know, is we're getting a site plan developed. The site plan, not necessarily the structure yet, but so that everything could be graded out, utilities all accounted for, you might say, and get that done. I suppose it's a potential we could get going on that next year if we get all the environmental clearances to come back in time.
You wouldn't anticipate ordering steel or anything like that in this fiscal year?
In 25,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible.
Okay.
It depends on how fast we can get some of the environmental approvals done, honestly. And then I suppose, honestly, how fast you want to move on it. Because I think engineering and operationally, we could push it and move.
Okay.
I think we could.
Well, the thing of it is, every year that we've pushed this, we've been talking about this, and one of our building costs gone up in the last 4 years we've been talking about.
The sooner the better, and for that particular reason.
Right.
Are these new trucks any bigger than the old trucks? I mean, get them in your building, or are you gonna be tighter trying to get them in there in the present building?
Oh,
bigger cab.
Yeah. No, I'm not real
Okay.
concerned about that. No,
Okay.
not of a substantive size to
Okay.
make a large difference that way. Yeah.
Any other questions for Dave? Any other questions for Dave?
I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to let you know about. Thumb through, I told you about the wind farm money.
Well, as always, you always have your budget numbers put together very well, and I know the guys downstairs really appreciate that and what you do, Dave, and
Sure.
we do too, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there wasn't anything I wanted to make you aware of that I'm forgetting to say. Because I brought a bunch of papers. I don't think so. I think we covered it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in
Yeah.
so where, Mr.
So-
Jeremy,
so-
where are we as far as, I got it, where's my schedule?
So I don't think I mean, I didn't give you a definitive answer on that in terms of what to do with capital as it relates to the building. I guess in my answer, I'm kicking the timeline down the road just a little bit because I just don't know for sure.
Well, I think even if we were able to, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong for what, because we've got $400,000 plugged in capital right now for that. We're only going to be spending, even if we exercise the option, we're only going to be spending a fraction of that. So there's
Right.
going to be dollars there that could be utilized for, a down payment or whatever you know, to secure earnest money to secure the order. It probably needs more than what would be there, but.
Yeah, you need more than 400,000, I would think, and particularly if we were to get going on site work.
Yeah.
So
But I'm still thinking
Get-
the bulk of the capital requirements is gonna land in 26, not 25.
probably, yes, probably. Okay, so what I was gonna say is, I think your question probably needs to be revisited in whatever, October or whatever, when you really get ready to, you know, put your real numbers in here and get a vote on it. You know, let's remember to ask that question again.
Well,
To see if
that's
there's more that
actually
needs to.
September, not.
We'll know a whole lot more in a month, but.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we're still, you know, a couple months could be very telling to where things are at with where we need to be on environmentals in phase one. So.
So, all right. I got people that need to leave and I gotta have a quorum or people to adjourn. All right, so next meeting, we've got,
Is that,
Looks like.
August
Tuesday-
20th, Tuesday, August
August
20th at 9 AM.
Yeah.
and.
Well,
yeah,
next week's
nothing
standard
next
committees.
week. We've got regular committee next week and but no budget and really, and where are we doing on day 3?
We have coroner, IT, county clerk, assessor, zoning, treasurer, county board.
There we go. All right. And you're not gonna be here, but we'll have Jennifer in for you. So. Yeah. Yeah, so. You're not replaced. She's just our backup and to beef up the committee. So move to adjourn, moved by Kitson, seconded by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.